Hi, chat. Can you hear me over here? My light died. It's broken. It doesn't work. We have bad lighting now. We're amateur. We're amateur. It's horrible lighting. Look at it. So uneven. The light. It's a hater. Okay. All right, you guys, I'm going to go. I'm going to hang up here. I don't have time to do the whole song and dance to get you over here. I'm having a weird day. Light's broken. You know, that is what it is. Thank you. Our light is broken, chat. Our light. You can hear me. Oh, yeah, that's good at least. Okay. All right. Okay, I'm hanging up here. Bye. Oh, guys. I'm having a day. I'm having a day. Okay, so first of all, my light's broken. Look at how much worse it looks with uneven light. Okay, angry about it. Second of all, my live is now permanently restricted on TikTok because it thinks I'm trying to sell people things. And I'm not. So I don't know what to do about that. So I can't even bully people to come join us here anymore. Third of all, my poster was falling down. And that was very, very frustrating. But I taped it back up. And this is just so upset. I'm so upset. I'm so upset. But hi. Welcome, everybody. Virgo, do I have any quick thoughts on rainbow capitalism and identity commodification before I go? I have so many thoughts. My partner in New York calls Pride Month St. Patrick's Day for gay. And I think that really sums it up perfectly. They are a bartender and they're like, oh, it's the worst. It's like, I'm gay all year round. Why do I have to be sold gay this month, right? So I think that that's really funny and true that it is St. Patrick's Day for gay. But yeah, you know, the rainbow capitalism thing I think plays in also with like the political commodification of queerness, right? Our country doesn't care about women and gay people, but now all of a sudden we care about women and gay people in the Middle East when we want to bomb a country, right? I know St. Patty's Day for gay is very funny. They're very, very funny. St. Patrick's Day is your birthday? Oh, that's nice. Happy soon birthday. Yes, I've heard of the Fresno Nightwalkers. They're very, very cute. They were not discovered, alas, when I was there. So, yeah, exactly. You're Irish all year round. Why do you have to drink English beer on the 17th? Exactly. This is what I'm talking about. I'm still in denial about my light, chat. If you guys haven't seen Fresno, where I'm from, we have our own cryptid. I'll show you what it looks like. Fresno Nightcrawler is what it's called. Sorry. And this is it. That's it. These have been spotted on people's security camera footage. It's just a photo of David. He's very tall. Yeah, no, this is that. So I'm from the same place that is. And I think that explains a lot. I think you can really see it, you know? You got a book in your grandparents' house with a swastika on it? What the fuck? Chat's going off today. So I'm still fighting with this because I'm in denial and I'm very, very stubborn. I do have, you can't tell if I have water because it's so dark. I know. I do have water. I've got it all. I've got it all. I know. It's really cute. I think the Fresno Nightcrawlers are really cute, personally. Leaping Larry, yes. It is legs. It is legs. It's just that. It's very cute. I like it. I like it. Okay, so here's the deal. I could move my computer here and we have much better light. That's way better, right? I think we should do that. I think I got a plan. Hold on here. I have this tiny cute table. And I think if I put it here, we can have it all. We can let the beautiful LA sun do its job for us. Huh? Yeah, I'm always laptop streaming. Yeah. Okay, all right. See, that's not bad. Okay, this is better. And then you can see the Moodog shrine behind me. Yeah. But I think I'll probably set it like this. Okay. This is making me feel a little better. I do need to buy a new fucking light though. All right. So, how many people do we have in here today? I got restricted on TikTok Live. I'm all over the place. Our schedule's messed up. I feel like there's 12 of us in here. 209. Oh, okay, that's pretty good, actually. Okay, yay. Great. Okay. All right. Let's go. So, okay. Here's some updates in my life I want to tell you guys before we get into the meat of what's going on here. All right. So, first thing I want to say, yes, my partner and I went to Colorado. If you're from Colorado, we went to Glob, I think is the venue. Glob. And it was really fun and cool. It was great. So, they played a show there. It was cute. Denver has a good scene. It was like a little DIY warehouse space. It was cool, and we had a good time. We drove out there because my partner had never flown with their equipment before and was nervous about it, and it was a big drive from LA. So I just came back last night at 8 p.m. from like a 5-day road trip, and it was a lot. It was a lot of driving. But we drove through Arizona, Utah, Colorado, Nevada, and Utah is my favorite state. It's so beautiful. It's like wild. Southern Utah is the most beautiful place on earth, I'm convinced. So that was really, really nice. Yeah, it's like insane. I'll look up how long it is. I really don't know. It is 15 to 19 hours one way. And we did it both ways in 5 days. Okay, so that was that. All right. So I just got back last night. So I'm a little like, all right. So there's that. Okay, so next, I am only streaming today and tomorrow because then I have to get ready to go on my trip to Cuba. Now, I didn't really explain this very, very clearly because I just got the go-ahead to talk about it last week right before I left for Colorado. So I posted like one video actually while I was on my road trip about it on TikTok. So I'm going to give you guys the full details. For those of you who guessed I was going to Cuba, that is the secret trip. Yes, you were correct. I am going to Cuba. Now, if you are a subscriber, a Nuki, a beloved Nuki of my heart, your money from last month paid for this whole trip. It paid for my plane ticket to go. It paid for the suitcase I am packing to bring full of supplies to leave with the Cuban people. So I've acquired half of my supplies and I have to do the other half tomorrow. So far, what you have helped purchase, besides my plane ticket there, is solar powered lights to go, 4,000 ibuprofens because they have a hard time getting over-the-counter medication there, 150 toothbrushes that have already been purchased, and what additionally they need beyond that is just sanitary supplies like soap, shampoo, conditioner, things like that. I'm going to buy some tampons, pads, things like that they need as well. So you guys paid for that. Okay. Thank you, Gifted Subs. Yay. So you guys paid for that, and I want you to know you helped. So that's what you did. And I couldn't tell you helped, but you helped even when you didn't know you helped. So thank you for all of that. I could not have afforded to do this without you. So I appreciate it, and I am really loving live streaming, and hopefully we can do more things like this in the future. Thank you, Comrade Lilith, as well. Yay. So yeah, that's all you guys. So, again, I had to be invited on this trip, so I can't promise I'll be able to do things like this consistently and miss work or whatever, but it does mean that we can use your contributions from the subscriptions and stuff towards projects like this when they come up, which is very, very, very cool. So thank you all for that and for participating. So in a lot of ways, this is your Cuba trip too. Now, things to know, while I am going to be in Cuba, there will be very limited power. Obviously, one of the main reasons for the immediate crisis that Cuba is going through is that Venezuela had been their provider of oil, their primary provider of oil, and Donald Trump cut that off. He cut off access to Venezuelan oil for Cubans, which means that Cubans are experiencing an energy crisis. Now, a lot of people have donated a significant amount of money towards getting them solar panels. China is giving them solar panels. Heck, here in New York City, the People's Forum raised hundreds of thousands of dollars to get them solar panels. So those convoys from the United States to donate solar panels have already been going out. So they're still getting them set up. They should be on target to have a third of their total island's energy supply needs met with solar panels, just based off of all the aid that they have been receiving, which is really, really cool. It won't be up and running by the time I'm there. So I will not have access to power while I am there, and I won't have access to the internet really. So I will be in a black hole for a week. I will have no clue what happens while I am gone. I will not be able to update you guys. When I come back, hopefully, if my phone and my camera and my memory cards are not confiscated by customs, I will be able to show with you videos and photos that I take, and we'll be able to do a whole recap when I get back. We'll do a whole Twitch stream talking about the trip, what I learned on the trip, showing you pictures and videos and things of that nature. One of the reasons I was invited is because people in Cuba want us to talk about the reality of what's going on there, and I have a large social media platform. So they want me to talk about it. So that is what I'm going to try to go do, film things, take pictures, take videos, etc., to be able to talk about this. So I'm trying to figure out right now, do I bring my shitty cameras in case they confiscate my cameras? I have a really nice $800 camera. I can't afford to replace it, but that would take better quality footage. What if they confiscate my camera? So I'm trying to figure that out right now. So that's a point of stress that I have to figure out as well. Bring shitty cameras. Yeah, the quality is just so bad. But then I also am bringing 2 portable chargers for my phone and a charging case. So hopefully I can just keep my phone off and I can just use it basically to film footage as well. That might be something to do as well. Yeah, I have some shitty, cheap point and shoots. I also might get film cameras and just do like film camera footage too. I'm not sure. Yeah, disposable ones, Larry. That's what I was thinking of. I think we have some in my house actually from a trip that my partner went on. I also have, I have my old iPhone. Like old. Like this is a 13. This is old, but this is new to me. I have like an iPhone like 8 or something. I could just bring that as well, which might be good. So still life realism paintings. Yes, I would paint. So, all right. So the things that I will be doing while I am in Cuba, part of it is work exchange. So I will be doing agricultural work in Cuba for them, which is really, really exciting. If you guys have listened to one of my podcast episodes a long time ago, I talked about how urban farming development in Cuba was really, really interesting to me. And if you guys have followed me, you know that I'm into things like hydroponic gardening and farming, like subsistence style farming. So I think this is going to be really, really interesting for me. I'm really excited to get the opportunity to learn about their agricultural systems and talk about that. We get another anonymous gifter. Oh, thank you. So that is going to be exciting, and I'll be able to talk to you about that. And also, one of the things that they do is they literally teach you about socialism. They teach you how they did this. And contrary to what, a lot of people think, like, oh, Cuba is like an example of the failures of socialism. Cuba is an example of the successes of socialism. Because if you look at any other poor country that's been aggressively targeted by the capitalists, by the imperialist powers, they are in states of civil war. They have conflict with each other. They often have massive amounts of debt from IMF and World Bank loans. Cuba, because it is socialist, has managed to survive as a small, impoverished nation being aggressively targeted by the United States. So Cuba is an example of the success of socialism under extreme duress, right? And you might have seen some video footage of Cubans protesting against their government. That's real. We know that there are people in Cuba who do have complaints about their government, just like anywhere else, right? That happens everywhere. We also know that that kind of stuff is exacerbated by the United States for our personal goals. So we want to take any unrest we can find, and we want to really just drive a wedge in there and apply stress to hope that the whole country fractures. So that stuff is real, and it's not to say that every single person in Cuba is 100% in love with their government, but most people do recognize that their government protects them from us. And I think that's important to remember. So I'll be able to talk to you more in detail about that after I'm there. And I'm really excited to go. So I am going as part of the Nuestra America convoy. There are multiple different brigades going within the convoy. I know some of you guys have seen some of your other favorite streamers or social media personalities also going. I did not recognize anybody in my convoy from social media. I only recognize people I actually know from IRL organizing. So I don't think anybody is going in my section of the convoy, my brigade, I think what it is, that you guys would recognize. That doesn't mean I won't have overlap while I'm there with other people staying in different places, doing different things, because this is an international convoy. There are people coming from multiple countries around the world to Cuba right now. Everybody is like, every socialist around the world is pitching in to try to go help Cuba right now. So we will see a lot of people basically on the island trying to help out. So that's what's going on. Yeah, the Nuestra America convoy, you might have seen Greta Thunberg talk about it, right? People are coming from all over. So I don't know who I will see and who I will not see. I don't know who will be there exactly when I am there and who will not. People are coming in at different times. It's a staggered kind of thing. And I will be there for roughly 1 week. So when I come back, though, I'll be able to give you guys a lot of details. Everybody going to Cuba is going to help with their screen time. Yeah. Butcher Pyongyang MP. I said this. I was like, I am not that good of a person. If I see that man, I will give him the silent treatment. I will not speak to him. Oh, thank you. Oh my God, 25 gifted subs. Wow. Big Daddy Hoops. Thank you. Thank you. That's so nice. Yay. Thank you. So nice. Wow. I appreciate. Yay. So yeah, that is the update. Okay, wait, let's see. Buil, you really appreciate if you read this. In recent videos, shared misinformation about Iran. The two women you quoted, yeah, they are known IRGC propagandists with white SIM cards who are very active online, while ordinary people struggle even connected. Yes, that is true. They don't represent the Iranian people. They don't need to represent all of the Iranian people. You know that, right? When we share that there are people who love the Iranian government, that's not because we want you to think every single person in Iran loves the Iranian government. That's because we want you to remember that the people of Iran are multifaceted and complex. It's not misinformation to say those people exist and they love the IRGC. They exist and they do love the IRGC. Some people love the IRGC there, right? It is to remind you that the people of Iran are not monolith. So I have never told you this is exactly how every single person in Iran feels. And I would never say that because there is no one way any group of people in a specific place feels. And I can tell you, I know that there are Marxist-Leninists in Iran who very much would like to have a different government, a Marxist-Leninist worker revolution, a worker government. But there are people in Iran who do love their government, even though it's not my ideal government. And to ignore them and ignore that just plays into Western propaganda that tries to tell you everybody there hates it. Everybody there doesn't hate it. They are multifaceted and complex people with a diverse range of political opinions. So, you know, that's important to note. So I've never told you that these people are representative of the entirety of the people of Iran. They're not. But they are the opposite narrative to what Westerners receive coming out of Iran. Yeah, IRGC is a portion of their armed forces. Yeah. Yeah, no people are a monolith. We know that. Right. How do you distinguish propagandists from people? I mean, that's also true, right? And you can say these people are linked to the government, and that's fine to know that, yeah, some people are linked to the government and they like the government. There are also videos of people being like, I am not paid by the government. I do not work for the government, and here are my opinions. And you can see those videos around online as well. And so this idea that millions of people in Iran all work for the government, and that is why they are upset that their country is being bombed. You know, I think you know that that's not realistic, right? But the reason why we show you those alternative perspectives, one, because you were right, there is an internet blackout in Iran. There is very little information able to get out of Iran. And number two, it's to remind you as an American that these people are not monolith. They have a diverse variety of political opinions and interests. And three, regardless, it doesn't matter because what somebody else thinks about their country is never justification for the United States showing up and bombing them. Oh, why only quote them and not the majority of Iranian people? They are actually representative. The majority of Iranian people do not want to get bombed. They do not. That is correct. And if you're talking about the Iranian diaspora, that's a different story. And I don't trust a diaspora over people living in a place. I mean, you could see with your own eyes that there's millions of people in Iran, in mainstream news coverage, even out in the streets, protesting against what the United States and Israel is doing there. But, like, to say only quote them and not the majority of Iranian people, you just said the majority of Iranian people don't have internet access. So what I'm guessing you think, what you mean by that is that you want to quote the majority of the Iranian diaspora. And that is not the Iranian people. Rob, do we have a Venmo to send direct gifts so you can get more supplies to bypass the wait and switch Ace? No, but that's okay. Don't worry about it. I budgeted pretty much all of the Twitch money. I paid a power bill that was past due with my Twitch money, and then the rest of it's all going to the trip. So I think we're okay. I have some money still set aside for it. So you already did. So thank you. Okay, let's see what else people are saying. Yeah, the best way to support at this point is literally we're running a sale on my normal work account. Buy things while I'm gone to keep money coming in. That's if you like clothes and jewelry. That actually is very, very helpful because it keeps it so I don't have to stress about work while I'm gone. I can't check in. I don't know what's going on with work finances. Marxist Gamer Zero. If 99% of the Iranian people loved the government, 1% hated it, that would be 1 million people that would be from Iran still hating the government. Yes, and those 1 million people would get their voices amplified in the West. That's totally true. So it's like, just because a lot of people are telling you something doesn't mean that's most people. And it doesn't even really matter because none of it justifies our action. Right? Ooh. So I do think you mean the diaspora, and I will never trust a diaspora in that way. I'm sorry. I will just never. That means nothing to me. It is. Okay, so Rage has mail. What's happening in Iran is just Iraq all over again. Yes, and I am 40 years old. I got radicalized by the war on terror. I'm sorry. You're not going to convince me that those people really, really want us bombing them. You're not. Nothing you're going to say. We got a new little choo-choo. Oh, okay, yeah, that's actually really helpful. And today, until the end of my stream, for about 1 or 2 hours after I end streaming today, we're running a Friday the 13th sale from last week, where a bunch of stuff, like over 100 items, I marked down to $13. So you can get some cheap jewelry until that. I'm going to remove that today, and then I'm going to do 50% off the whole website for like probably 2 weeks just to keep it going. Yay, okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you, everybody. I really appreciate it. It really does help. You trust an expat of another country living in Iran more than somebody for the diaspora? Yeah, I mean, I do too. That's totally true. So we perfected our dude seeking missiles of liberation, Marxist Gamer Zero. Leaping Larry, 9/11 turned you into a hater of USA imperialism firmly. Yep. And you and I are the same age. So we were, because you just had your 40th birthday. I'm going to have my 40th birthday in a couple months. I mean, where we were like freshmen in high school when 9/11 happened. And this is really the environment we came up in. Sir Cito, even if most people don't like their government in Iran, the U.S. and Israel bombing them would most likely just increase internal support for the Iranian government. Exactly. And like, even when we talk about Marxist-Leninists there who might want to leverage this moment as an opportunity to redirect towards a worker government, which I could see even Marxist-Leninists here in the United States doing if there's moments of extreme political instability. I understand that technique and that approach. If you really wanted to support even them, if you really wanted a Marxist-Leninist revolution in Iran, then why would you give them 3 governments to fight, right? Why would, if you really wanted to support Marxist-Leninists who wanted to overthrow their government in Iran and create a worker government, right? Which I don't even know how big the demand is for that immediately there. I have not seen a lot of that. I've seen a little of it, but nothing that would suggest they're at that kind of critical moment. But I don't know. Even if you did that, why would you then add, now you have to fight the United States and Israel too? Right? That doesn't make sense. There's no world in which U.S. intervention is positive for the people of Iran, right? And again, from what I have seen, the majority of people in Iran do support their government and not want to get bombed, right? It's not everybody. It's not everybody, sure. It's not. And that's okay. It doesn't have to be everybody. It doesn't even have to be most of them for me to say we shouldn't bomb them. People in Iran said their opinion over and over and over again before the internet blackout. You should quote them, and you never did, not even once. Because those are the people getting the spotlight and the attention, and that was not the majority of people. That is not. I actually posted videos of average everyday people in Iran being shown videos of those people and what they were saying, and they're horrified. So no, that's not the majority of people. How are you deciding who the majority of people is? Is it the people who agree with you assume are the majority? Is it the people whose voices are being amplified the most in the media? Because the voices you see in the West being amplified the most in the media, that also comes with bias. Those are people speaking English or videos that have English translations over them for a very specific reason. You are getting a very specific subset of public opinion from a place when it is highly politicized by the West. The version of events you're getting in the West is hand-selected for a specific reason, it's amplified for a specific reason, and it's crafted to appeal to you to make you support whatever your government wants to do there. Is this our boy Alan? This link Virgo sent? This looks like a great article for us. This is AstroTurfed Iran, the regime change machine is turning on Iran again. And yeah, so this is really this is perfect wording. Make no mistake, the U.S. and Israel are ready to seize the moment in Iran's mass protest to drive a regime change operation, and it's not even subtle. Yeah, I think that's great. Thank you for sharing that, Virgo. That's a great article. And yeah, I think that what Weeb Core here is saying, everything you agree with apparently is the majority and everything you don't agree with is propaganda. You really have to check that bias in yourself. Because, like, I can tell you right now, you know my politics, I'm a Marxist-Leninist. Is the government of Iran Marxist-Leninist? No. Would I love it if they were? Yes. Am I out here right now saying that everybody in Iran wants a Marxist-Leninist worker revolution and to overthrow their government? No. Because I don't think that's true. I've not seen enough evidence for that to be true. You know, what I have seen is that the people in Iran don't want to be bombed to death by the United States and Israel. And whatever conflicts they might have with their government are theirs internally. And based on the history of American meddling and intervention there, the average Iranian person has bitter memories of the United States presence in their country, right? So, Comrade Lilith sent this. Oh, Bronx Anti-War. This is a good one as well. Pinkwashing Iran. How the U.S. weaponizes women and queer rights to serve U.S. imperialism. Yeah, exactly. And this is the thing I think of, too. I might have said this on stream before. These are both great sources for everybody. I really recommend people look at both of these if you're a little off on it or you're not quite sure what to think. Alexandria Brujo, It Gets a Little White Savory, exactly. That as well. You know, I think that the thing to remember about this is that you don't need to play world police. You are not going to be able to successfully push a revolution, a worker revolution in any country. That's something that the people there need to be ready for and push for themselves. And every sign of political instability or turbulence in another country is not a sign that they are ready for a worker revolution. It's just not. So what you need to think about is, does what I'm saying right now, does what I'm doing right now lend support for these people to have to deal with even more problems? And if you live in the West, that's a big one. Because most of the time, the answer is probably going to be yes. It's the same reason we don't go around calling people dictators in other countries. We don't go around saying that women in Iran are super, super oppressed. I'm just not going to say that. Who does that benefit? Especially when we know that women in Iran have higher rates of college graduation than women in the United States, higher literacy rates, higher rates of women in STEM. At a certain point, you also have to acknowledge that your idea of oppression and liberation is cultural. It's cultural. People in the West think that liberation for a woman is to get to wear a miniskirt and have her hair out. Well, that might not be what liberation looks like in other people's cultures. And within a culture, especially when you have the influence of Western media so pervasive internationally, young people are more likely to be influenced by Western media. They aren't old enough to have the memories of what it meant when the United States was there. Young people want to wear Western clothes, want to listen to Western music, want to emulate the West. And this is something we've seen over and over and over again. I shared this on my Twitter, but I even found while I was bored on the road trip in the passenger seat of the car, a CIA report about how in the 1980s, drug use became prominent in the Soviet Union amongst teenagers because teenagers were getting heavily influenced by Radio Free Europe and Radio Liberty and Voice of America and Western media. They wanted to be like American teenagers, and to them that meant doing drugs. So then all of a sudden the USSR had this drug problem, right? So when teenagers are exposed to Western media, they want to emulate the West. So you might even have within a culture or within a place, older people who are more traditional, who don't want to emulate the West, younger people who do want to emulate the West. You do not need to take a side in that. You do not. And if I was going to be pushed to take a side, my side is always going to be to limit the American influence in other countries because it is bad and harmful, right? So, you know, that's kind of my thoughts on that, right? That's what I think is going on there. Yeah, and under the Shah in the past, women in Iran were forced to remove their veils as state policy. They were forcefully undressed in public for some years. You know, so yeah, I don't know. I think just check your bias. Why do you think that the majority of people in Iran agree with you and agree with the West? No, and if you know about the history of Iran, think about it. This country that hated the American presence there so much for 20 some odd years, this country where the United States went in, overthrew their democratically elected leader, imposed basically a king, you know, to serve our interests there, was hated so much by Iranians that they overthrew them and installed a new government, expelled us from their country, get together in town squares and chant death to America. You think the majority of people in that country want America bombing them now? Really think, why do you think that? That's not even rational. Even if you didn't know for certain, why are you assuming that? Why are you defaulting to that, right? Marxist Gamer Zero, that's the issue with the new atheist movement, which literally do free imperialist propaganda by exacerbating Islamophobia. Yes, and I think a lot of us, I'm an atheist as well. I think a lot of us, when we're teenagers, we can be like edgy atheists, especially if you grew up in the United States, which is very Christian majority. It's easy to forget that for many marginalized people around the world, their religion is, one, a way to connect to a culture that it seems like the rest of the world is trying to strip from them constantly. Two, for some people, religion is solace in the face of great adversity. All of these things, it's important for us to remember. And religion also becomes used as the justification for us to kill people. It does, right? Oh, look at them. They're so backwards. They're so religious. Not like us here in the United States. And when you think about even just hair coverings, right? Oh, their religion's so oppressive, it makes women cover their hairs. We've got fucking Catholic nuns covering their hair here. I'm not trying to liberate Catholic nuns, right? So what is this idea where we turn it around to countries that we conveniently also want to have oil dealings in, right? And then all of a sudden we care about women covering their hair. Chang the Beast has us in their pocket while they gather wood. Yeah, it's the choice feminism thing. Freedom to shave your legs, freedom to shop, not freedom from wage slavery. Right. And I think as Marxists, we do have kind of an advantage because I can always say this. My first choice is always that they have a worker revolution because I think no liberation can come without socialism. But if that's not happening, I'm gonna default to the side that makes those people not get bombed. And that seems pretty common sense to me. Right? So, it is what it is. Okay. So, there's our little, less bombs good, probably. Whatever's bombing those people the least. That's the side I'm going to take. All right. So, let's get into our normally scheduled, kind of programming for today. Are you guys ready? I missed you on Thursday and Friday. I hope you had a lovely time. I hope Larry was a wonderful stream for you all to watch. Biolo still talking here. Actually Iranian. You lived there most of your life. Beg others to travel to Iran. Talk to people there. I mean, yeah, they say they do hate the regime more than the war, and it is really sad. I mean, but that's your family. You're sitting here telling me the people you know, the people you talk to there. That's your family. Right? Part of my family loves Donald Trump. My uncle lost a finger in an accident at work. He makes minimum wage stocking shelves at a pet store, and he says capitalism is the greatest system on earth. I don't really care what your family thinks. And the fact that you don't know that your vision of this is clouded by your family's specific political outlook in the world, the people you're around, the region of the people you're communicating with, maybe even the income level of the people you're communicating with, their belief system in the specific area where you are, all of that is affecting it. That's anecdotal, right? And that's not enough. That's just, it's not going to work. Oh, the doctor. Oh, we got Raiders. Oh, yay. Dr. Yasmin. Cool. Hi, everybody. Welcome, Raiders. Welcome, Yazraid. Nice. Welcome. We're about to get started. You got great timing. We were just yapping. We were talking a little about Iran and messaging on Iran and, the Western idea of liberating people of Iran, white savory stuff, blah, blah, blah. Yes. And also my light is broken today, so we have all natural light. Name of Sorry. Yes, hello. Name of Honor. Hi. Okay. Larry's going to be talking about religion and revolution this week. Oh, yay. You know what, Larry? I think that's really interesting because I did see you were talking a lot about, organizing within a church space and how that can be a viable vehicle for organization, and I agree with that. I think that's very interesting. Smash Ultra's back. Okay, so let's get started on our regularly scheduled programming. For those of you who are new here, if anybody is new here, we call our stream Double Down on the News, and we take a look at current events, and we read through a news article, sometimes reported from like a mainstream news source. We talk about any context that might be missing from what's going on. We talk about any history. We try to balance it sometimes against left-wing political narratives as well to try to find the truth of what's happening. So, at the beginning of every stream, you're allowed to submit articles that you think are interesting for us to talk about or look at, and then we vote on them. So if anybody has anything that they would like to submit, please feel free to do so now. Yes, as Virgo said, any news articles you're interested in talking about, please share them here. We will open them, and we will take a look. Simmer Jamie, am I getting rickrolled? Oh, this song. We'll listen to this while everybody shares. Hold on. Yeah, the Houthi song. Okay. Your humble submission, Raccoon Child, has the United States is building largest detention network in history. Okay, we've got some ICE info. Oh, not just criminals. The United States is about to mass incarcerate anyone who opposes the government. Cool. So I'll see you guys all in the gulag, in the capitalism gulag. All right, that's good to know. Going to be hanging out real soon. We've got Israel using the Gaza Doctrine in Lebanon and Iran. Oh, wait, Truth Out. What is this one? Wait, I missed the Truth Out one. Anti-communism classes in Florida. Yes, okay. And we have Ireland. Ireland versus Donald Trump. Okay. We've got some good stuff coming in today. The Gray Zone, we've got meet the former fashion blogger and shady doctor behind the 30,000 dead Iran psyop. By any means necessary. Vietnam votes as Communist Party fields nearly 93% of parliamentary candidates. Cool. Okay, we have your food is going to get more expensive thanks to the war in Iran. The world's falling apart. North Korea launches ballistic missiles after condemning U.S.-Israeli attacks on Iran. Yay, North Korea, right side of history. Always. Trump threatens NATO allies over the Strait of Hormuz help. I saw that. Did you guys see Donald Trump was out there like begging? Like, maybe someone will come help us. And then got ghosted by all the other countries. Did you guys see that? Okay. Give me a second, chat. Yeah, the Gray Zone vaccine thing. Mid-Press News also posted some weird vaccine thing early on, too. But that's why it's like, people are like, where do I go for news? And I'm like, there's not one single news source I'm ever going to tell you is perfect. Like, you got to use critical thinking when you're consuming news from anywhere, even from some of our favorite lefty sources. You got to look at the actual journalist on the article. So, like, I can tell you I like Alan McLeod's work. You know, I'm always going to probably have that bias in me to trust Alan McLeod's work. But Alan McLeod is on the same newspapers that sometimes are saying weird anti-vax shit. I don't like the anti-vax shit personally, you know? Things like that are important to note. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. Give me a second, and I'm going to look through these and kind of group them by category, and I'm going to come up with 5 things for our vote. So, speak amongst yourselves for a moment, please. Okay, I think I've got it. All right. Virgo, are you ready? For our poll. Okay. Ready. All right, so I think we've got disinformation in Iran. Specifically disinformation in Iran, because we're going to have a couple different things. Like Iran International. So just like how the international kind of world is reacting to the Iran situation. Okay. The anti-capitalist purge. I don't know. What do we want to call this? But something about like in the United States, all this like censorship stuff. about like anti-communist classes. They're going to be apparently locking up people who hate the government. What do we want to call that? Donald Trump Purge 2.0, something like that. Whatever that is. I don't know what to call it. I'm sorry. Then also we have Ireland, and we're going to have Vietnam. So I think those are the 5. What is up the raw? What is that? Up the raw. Yes. I'm going to say it. I don't know what it means, but yes. Up the raw. Is it good? Did I just say a slur? Did I say a slur in somebody else's culture? Up the RA. Oh, up the RA. Oh, like Ireland, right? Up the RA. Up the RA. Yes. Okay. In this house, we support I'm American. We call it the IRA. We call it the IRA because I'm not Irish. Yes, up the IRA, of course. Yeah. Okay. All right. So everybody, you know the drill. The poll is up. Refresh if you don't see it. It's at the top of your chat. Vote or gulag. And you know what? Iran. If the Iran wins, we'll do a breakdown and we'll add in the international stuff too. So go ahead and vote. And in the meantime, we're going to play this video, the Houthi video. The Houthis in Yemen released a threatening and rousing song video saying that a small group will triumph over the United States, Israel, and the entire West. I believe them. Let's see. Wait, am I getting banned for showing the video? Why? What do you mean? Music loud? Oh, it's too loud. Okay. Huh. Really? Oh, we can't even watch it. Okay, you know what, guys? I'm going to tiny URL the video for you. You got a little taste of it. I'm not trying to get banned right now. I got too much going on. So I'll just give you the video, and you can watch the rest of it. Okay? All right? I don't know. Better safe than sorry. I got so much going on. Did you see my light is broken? I can't take another L right now. It should be working. So, you know what I mean? We got too much going on. We got too much happening right now. There we go. There's the tiny URL. We got it. All right. We still have a little bit of time to get your votes in. The anti-capitalist purge is winning. Great. I can't wait to be incarcerated with all of you, chat. It's going to be so fun. Yay! We love it. 404, really? Oh, I typed it wrong. Hold on, let me fix it. I'll fix the link. Okay, let's try this again. Shorten link. Okay, we're gonna try a new one for the video. 4T 5J DKVS. Oh, I did a typo. Okay, the anti-capitalist purge won. Yay! All right, everybody. What do you mean incarcerated together? They will obviously separate us. We can't organize. I don't think they're going to be that smart. I think they're just going to put like a bad politic jail cell and throw us all in. Ugh. Okay, this link is the groundwork. Oogie, Dougie Duck. Cool. Women's History Month? Wait, really? No, this can't be it. Is this the right one? The Women's History Month thing? Yeah, I have to type them out. Comrade Dexy, it doesn't let me copy and paste in my own chat. I don't know why in OBS. Ah! Okay. Well, let me get this stuff all ready for everybody. You know, we're a little broken today. We're hobbling along. Okay? We're hobbling along. We can survive this. Okay. All right. So, no, I've not heard of break free candy. That sounds great to me, though. We will bend and not break. Okay. So, here's what Uduggy Doug sent us. This is about Women's History Month. Is this the right one? The White House Proclamation, right? Yeah. Us elder millennials, we're lucky our streams come on at all. Hey, also, you know, though, we grew up in the message board era. We can handle a lot. We can learn new technology. We can roll with the punches. What I cannot deal with is this light because I am a millennial. I come from an era where things were built a little stronger than what you kids are used to. You kids are used to cheap plastic shit. Back in my day, you could throw a light on the ground 6, 7, 8, 9 times without it breaking. So, you know, when I threw this light on the ground multiple times while I was live streaming from work last week, nothing could have prepared me for the fact that it would just stop working. What is that? Come on. It's like you know, so that's really, I think, where our age shows. I have a higher expectation from my $12 goods that I purchased on eBay. You know, whatever. Okay. All right. So this is the framework for the great communist purge, Red Scare 5.0. What number Red Scare do you guys think we're on? Well, let's say 26.0, just to be safe, going on in the United States here. And again, you guys know, the Cato Institute did this survey about young people, Gen Z adults, favorable views of communism. I talk about this all the time. And the Cato Institute is a conservative think tank. They're a libertarian more think tank, right? And here is an article they came out with last year, around a year ago, May 15th, 2025. This says, young Americans like socialism too much. That's a problem libertarians must fix. Now, this is funny because we know libertarians can't fix anything. And the one time they tried to fix something, the whole town got overrun with bears and everything got set on fire. Big wishful thinking from the Cato Institute. However, they did a survey, as well as YouGov did a survey, and found that 62% of Americans aged 18 to 29 said they hold a favorable view of socialism, and 34% said they had a favorable view of communism. So the conservatives are running scared, I think it is safe to say, right? We've got some leet speak going in on the chat for the millennials. Nice. Really making me feel at home. Thank you, everybody. You know, so I think this is what everybody is flipping out about. And obviously, those of us who have read theory, this was foretold. Socialism or barbarism, right? We knew capitalism would inevitably hit these crisis points. It would start to fall apart. People would not have their material needs met. And they would polarize. They would go in two directions. Where would they go? They would go towards communism or towards fascism, which has often been described as capitalism in crisis. We knew this was going to happen. We talked about this weeks ago specifically. We read the Gramsci text, right? Neither, what was it? Barbarism, neither capitalism nor barbarism, but Sovietism or something like that. That talks specifically about this phenomenon, though. When capitalism falls apart, people go one of two directions, and we want them to go to socialism. We do not want them to go towards fascism. And that is why we know that communists are the most successful force in history in defeating fascism. Capitalists capitulate to fascism, and we see that playing out in real time in front of us right now. The Gramsci text. Gramsci text. I love it. So there's this Gramsci text we read, and you can see it back. If the video on demand's no longer up, you can definitely see it on my YouTube. I export everything there. Let me see this text. My search results just aren't working. Oh, here it is. This is the text. It is called Neither Fascism Nor Liberalism, but Sovietism. So, you know, we've seen a lot of texts like this over and over and over again. We know that this is what's going to happen, and our goal, obviously, especially as Marxist-Leninists who believe in a vanguard party, is to tell people, like, hey, guys, this is going to fall apart. Like, capitalism is going to fall apart. You are in a house that is burning down around you as we speak. There's two ways out. One of them, you jump out of like a 6-story window to your death. That's fascism. The other is this very safe, well-lit exit route towards a better life. And that's socialism. So come with us. We want to take you this way. We want to get you to safety. Follow us. Don't listen to the guy who's shoving you out of the window up there. And it's really what's going on in history. This happens a lot. Right? So, this is what we're talking about. Oh, thank you, Dougie Doug, for gifting us that. And this is exactly what's happening. So when we look over here at what the Cato Institute is talking about, they're like, wait. Why do so many young people like socialism? Well, no shit. It's been foretold, right? We knew this would happen. They see capitalism not working for them. Young people see the contradictions of capitalism all around them. They see that they can't afford rent. They can't afford to move out of their parents' house. They can't get a good job. They can't afford shit. And this is affecting their material conditions. And that means that this system can't be the greatest system on earth. It's not working. So when we look at 1 in 3 Gen Z adults saying communism sounds pretty okay to them, 2/3 saying socialism sounds great. They're not really sure what the difference is. It doesn't super matter. Thank you, London's Best Gay. So this makes sense to us. And it is a problem for conservatives and liberals, both alike. Now, we've seen the Democratic Party solution to this here in the United States. The liberal solution is they're like, pump out some fake fucking socialists fast. Get out some AOCs. You make them in a little AOC clone factory, shove them out there, tell everybody that's socialism so they keep supporting us. And we obviously know that's not socialism. There's barely even social democracy. That's barely even a system where you provide a social safety net while exploiting the global south and bombing children in the Middle East. We know it's hardly even that, right? Because we hardly even get a social safety net with that. But that is really what liberals are trying to do. Liberals are trying to convince you that they are socialism. So you don't need to look over there. We got socialism at home. It's us. It's that warmonger, Cat, whatever her name. You guys know who I'm talking about over in Illinois, right? With the psychotic foreign policy agenda. We talked about this. We got this chick. This is a new Democrat who is one of these fake socialists they're plopping out there. 26-year-old Palestinian American running to represent Illinois' 9th district in Congress, right? I'm a renter, a former uninsured worker, a union representative, running to bring a new generation of leadership to Washington. She's dropping Mother Jones. I've fought fascists before and won. Now I'm ready to do it in Congress. You look at this chick, you'd be like, oh, that's cool. What's your platform? I'm running a new type of Democratic campaign. She's a Democrat. She's running as a Democrat. Okay, all right. Why are the Democrats cool with her if she's so good at all this anti-establishment stuff? Well, because she's not, actually. And look at the buzzwords in here. Anti-authoritarianism. This is an anti-communist buzzword, and it's just plastered all over her page, right? She's 26. Donald Trump, tech billionaires, and the Republican Party have banded together to rapidly and illegally break this country at the expense of our most vulnerable. Their vision is fascist. I mean, but the Democratic Party seems pretty chill with their vision and doing a lot of the same things, right? So this anti-authoritarianism thing, it's also very obviously anti-communist buzzword stuff. But the thing that's really, really insane about her platform is her foreign policy. Let's see if she still has it up here. She got kind of roasted for it. She's got, okay, free and sovereign Palestine, all right, ending anti-Semitism, okay, like, great. Humane foreign policy. Her foreign policy, though, talks about aggressively arming Taiwan, trying to stoke a civil war between China and Taiwan. It's very, very weird. And let's see if she still has this here, because she did get blasted for it. She supports USAID, right? She wants to revise it and have more USAID stuff. I mean, this stuff's pretty wild. But she got blasted on Twitter pretty aggressively because she made this video where she was talking about her foreign policy about Taiwan. And it is very war hawk. It is more war hawk than Republicans are, right? Matt Duss. Let's see if we can find this. Cat Puzilla. We watched this in one video before, but I think it is relevant to this whole conversation that we're having. So her foreign policy advisor in a leaked email, say that she is firmly an interventionist. And this is the Drop Site News article about this. Kat, a social democratic candidate, at least they called her, they called it a socialist, not a socialist, though. A Democrat seeking office in Illinois, one of the only Palestinian Americans seeking office. They're doing identity politics, very obviously. That's supposed to appeal to us. Was described by her national security advisor as, quote, firmly an interventionist who, quote, won't stop until Russia is made to pay for its crimes. In written responses detailing her foreign policy vision obtained by DropSite. Ben Mermel wrote in an email to a Washington-based progressive foreign policy activist that Abu Ghazala believes the world is better off when America takes a leading role, and that the U.S. has, quote, an obligation to support pro-democracy movements around the world from Iran to Venezuela. Again, buzzword, capitalism. They want to do regime change in other countries to support capitalism. That's what this means, right? He added that Kat wholly supports the National Endowment for Democracy, the CIA's NGO, as well as its affiliated organizations, NDI, IRI, and the AFL-CIO's Solidarity Center, and said Congress should expand tools from sanctions to NGO support to advance those efforts without always resorting to kinetic force. So this is the socialist candidate the Democratic Party is shoving in our faces. Like, okay, you guys like socialism? That's fine. We got this Palestinian American chick who's so progressive. You're going to love her. She does want to advocate for regime change around the world and in the pursuit of expanding American capitalism. Yeah. And it's like, so you got the pro-imperialist socialist candidate? What the fuck are these people doing? Right? It's absolutely, and they think we're stupid enough to fall for this. They really, really do. So the DC-based activist had written to Mermel saying he had noticed unusually hawkish language on the campaign website. Remember, I was like, they took it out. They took it off her website. Related to Ukraine and Taiwan, and was looking for clarification. In his response, Mermel said that on Taiwan, she would amend the Taiwan Relations Act by, quote, dropping our strategic ambiguity and make clear the U.S. would counter Chinese aggression, quote, with force, arguing the region now requires, quote, a firmer hand. Absolutely wild. So on Ukraine, Mermel wrote she would hold the line, support funding the Ukrainian war effort to the hilt, back long-range strikes on Russian strategic targets, deploy additional U.S. air, naval, and ground assets to NATO's front line, and that she, quote, supports the seizure and redistribution of Russian assets in Europe and the United States for the purpose of financing the war effort. Ghost in this hell, progressive at this point just means woke imperialist. Yes, it does. Yep. It's pretty wild. But this is what the Democrats are saying, right? The Democrats are like, don't be a socialist. We have socialists at home. And then you look and you're like, is this really a socialist? Or is this a Democrat selling me identity politics while promising to go to war with China and destroy Ukraine for Western profit? And then they're like, it's that one. It's that one. Yeah, you got me. It's that one. It's not really a socialist. It's the other one. And then we're supposed to be like, yay, love it. And then Blue MAGA will tell you that you want a perfect candidate if you don't vote for that. The woman who's gleefully telling you she wants to start a war with China. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, very, very interesting. So that is how the Democrats are dealing with this issue, right? Again, neither fascism nor liberalism, but Sovietism. Fascism, we can understand, is the Republican Party's current agenda. Liberalism, stronghold Democratic Party agenda here in the United States. We don't want that. We want actual socialism here. So the libertarians are freaking out. They're not going to be able to give you a cat. So what are they going to be able to do? What are the conservatives really going to be able to do to counter this growing trend of an interest in socialism? Well, they've got their alt-right pipeline. That's been working really well. They've got their YouTubers telling you that it's actually really cool and hip to just give in to fascism and be like a weird fucking patriarchal look-smaxer bigot of some kind. That's one hell of an approach. But then what the ultimate expansion of this is that they're not going to be able to smash socialism or communism out of young people. They're not going to be able to do that because young people are going to continue to see that capitalism doesn't work. And in fact, what's going to happen is that more and more people are going to be turning towards socialism as an alternative, as the answer. So that brings us to these news stories. So what do you do in that case? What do you do if you can't beat them? Right? What do you do if you can't convince them? How do you make young kids, young people, young adults stop being socialists? And that brings us to these two stories that we're looking at today. So, the first story I think we should read is the Truth Out story. And Joe Sachara, her campaign is low-key crazy. Wouldn't be surprised if she wins the ballot. She probably will. She probably will. And we've got this whole little team of these fake socialists out there. Something else that happened over the weekend that we didn't talk about is Zoran Mamdani condemning his own wife, right? I'm sure you guys saw that. Came under fire because his wife did illustrations for a Palestinian author's book, and the Palestinian author referred to the Zionists as parasites. And then all these people got mad at Zoran Mamdani because they were like, "Oh, your wife thinks that Israelis are parasites," and he was like, "I don't stand by what my wife did. She didn't know. She would never do that." And then everyone was like, "Bro, you're literally condemning your own wife to serve Zionism at this point," which was a pretty interesting development as well. But that's supposed to be our socialist candidate. That's supposed to be our communist candidate out there in New York City, right? Zoran Mamdani. And we had Democrats being like, well, if you're not excited about Zoran Mamdani, you just can't be pleased. And you know, the truth is that we know what it means when someone says they're a democratic socialist and they run on the Democratic Party ticket. We know what they are. We know what they are. They're one of these fake socialists the Democrats are throwing out there to try to convince us not to go full commie mode, right? Rob, we need to talk about why the better of two evils in voting for Dems is not based on what people are saying in chat today. Wait, what do you mean? I'm missing it in the chat. What's happening? We need left-wing communism and infantile disorder, exactly. So you thought Kat disavowed those emails as being false. I mean, maybe. It was on her website. She was on her website used to actually say that she wanted to take this more aggressive approach to Taiwan and Ukraine. Better of two. Oh, we have a lot of better of two evils people in the chat today, like lesser of two evils style. Yeah, okay. Well, that might be true. Seeing U.S. Americans in this chat be like, these are the lesser of the two evils. Like, it is. I mean, I do want you guys to know, though, like, as an American, like, people are really brainwashed here. And this is the thing that sometimes I talk to people from other countries, and they're like, why do you guys only have two parties? And I'm like, oh, we don't. And they're like, what? And I'm like, no, yeah, we don't. I'm registered Peace and Freedom Party for electoral work. And they're like, wait, I thought you guys only had two political parties. And I'm like, oh, no, we have a ton of political parties. And they're like, okay, then why is it only Democrats and Republicans that win and everybody only talks about them? And I have to explain to them that there's literally no reason. It's not even structurally part of our Constitution, of our voting, of the way anything works. It's literally just that the Democrats keep telling people over and over again they have to vote for them, and people just believe it. And that's literally it. It's a marketing tool. And that trips people out from other countries so much. But that's how indoctrinated Americans really are. We are super, super, super indoctrinated here, right? So, you know, I think it's important to remember that. And we do deserve better. I want you guys to know, if you are an American and you look at Kat and you're like, well, like, maybe she's the lesser of the evils, blah, blah, blah. You deserve better than that. Our Democratic Party in other countries, they're telling you, hey, that's a far-right fucking candidate where we live. You deserve better. And as long as you keep doing this lesser of the two evil stuff, you're never going to get better. You're going to get further and further and further right-wing. How do I know? I'm 40 years old. I've watched this happen over the course of my life alone, right? People older than me have watched it happen even more. The Democratic Party is to the right of Ronald Reagan on foreign policy today. And that's what happens when you do lesser of evil supporting over and over and over again. You just, everything gets so aggressively far right. Because what they're really doing when they tell you have to vote for them no matter what is they're seeing what they can get away with. They're seeing how far they can push you. They're seeing how much you'll deal with. And when you're like, I'll pretty much deal with anything. Yeah. They're like, cool. All right. And foreign policy is really what it all comes down to at the end of the day, right? And this is why I joke with people that I'm a single issue voter and the issue is foreign policy. And they don't want to hear that. And that's obviously a gross oversimplification of my politics. But that is how I talk about it. Yeah. We're never getting to the news. We're getting to the news. We're building up to the news. I promise you. So that brings us here to the news. This fall, Florida students will be forced to take anti-communist classes. This is the Republican approach to dealing with this growing issue. Florida public schools will force students to take a Heritage Foundation-backed class on the evils of communism. So Heritage Foundation, if you're not familiar, that is like a think tank out in Washington, D.C. that was started by two guys who were pretty low-level kind of political staffers working in Washington, D.C., who thought that maybe think tanks could do more than publish research papers. They thought maybe they could start to influence public policy, and they wanted funding, so they went to the Coors Beer guy, yes, Coors Beer, and they asked for money from him, and he joined them and basically became a financial partner in starting this new think tank called the Heritage Foundation. And at the same kind of moment that they were starting the Heritage Foundation and building it up, they didn't really have a lot of popular support, so they started going after young people entering Washington, D.C. and kind of bringing them into the fold and grooming them, basically, so that as they became higher up in politics years down the road, they would be able to push the Heritage Foundation's agenda. And the Heritage Foundation started every single presidential term coming out with this book they called the Mandate for Leadership, which basically was what the Heritage Foundation thought you should do to be a good president and lead the country in the right direction. And they actually started really the formalized process in the 80s of linking these issues of right-wing morality to like austerity style finances. So they would be like, how do we get average everyday people to vote in favor of tax cuts for the rich? Well, we will also campaign and attach that somehow to making abortion illegal, and then we will aggressively target super conservative Christians. So early on, a lot of their donors outside of the Coors Foundation guy were conservative religious women who opposed abortion. And this is what they did. And they really recreated the Republican Party strategy that we all, most of us, know today, which is link these super conservative, almost religious, moral causes to the politics they want to pass that support and uplift rich guys in the United States. And they're like, this is how we will trick working class people to support policies that financially harm them. And they really created this. So every presidential cycle, they would come out with these things they called the Mandate for Leadership, which they would try to give to the presidents of the United States to be like, this is what you should do. Just this is what you should do. Project 2025 was 2025's Mandate for Leadership. So I do have, I think, 4 to 6 hours of podcast content about Project 2025. If you want to listen to it, Pick Me Up, I'm Scared. It's my podcast. It was from the election season. And my general takeaway is I don't want to tell you Project 2025 isn't bad and scary, because it is, but it's business as usual. It's the same bad and scary the Heritage Foundation has been coming out with every single presidential election cycle. And it should worry you that there is a secret cabal of random rich dudes out there affiliated with Coors Beer who are actually dictating policy in this country. Glimfold, insidiously evil by bureaucracy and policy. Yeah, so, it's just more of the same bullshit. And it's also worth noting Barack Obama has taken policy from Heritage Foundation, from their mandates for leadership. Democrats take policy from the Heritage Foundation's mandates for leadership. So, we just finished up, speaking of podcast, the Armenian genocide episodes. And when I get back from Cuba, we'll start on our next segment. Our next segment is going to be a block of episodes either about the Korean War or Yugoslavia. Probably Yugoslavia. Obamacare was Romney's plan, which was from Heritage, exactly. So when we say Heritage Foundation is going to back classes on the evils of communism and teach them in these Florida schools, this is what the Heritage Foundation has always been about. And also, I try to tell people this too. When you ever encounter people who are liberal, who think they're super progressive, and they're like, how can you support North Korea? I'm like, you hate Project 2025. Did you know the Heritage Foundation pays to produce anti-North Korean propaganda? They're an anti-communist situation. The Project 2025 is explicitly anti-communist, and these are the same people funding anti-communist measures, right? So this is what people need to remember, that they are not being progressive. They're having the exact same policies the Heritage Foundation paid good money for them to want to support. So let's get into this. First, there was a Democratic socialist, Senator Bernie Sanders. Then in 2018, socialist AOC and Rashida Tlaib won seats in the House of the Representatives. 7 years later, in the fall of 2025, voters chose socialist Zohran Mamdani and Katie Wilson to lead New York City and Seattle, upping socialist representation in government to 250 people in 40 states. And again, socialist, they're just progressive Democrats. That's it at the end of the day. But they call themselves socialists, so, These victories reflect the growing influence of socialist ideas and organizations across the U.S., driven in large part by youth. Unsurprisingly, the right wing has taken notice of this growing public appeal and has made it clear that it intends to stop the ascent of socialism and communism in their tracks. Their launching pad? Public education in Florida. Beginning in the fall of 2026, all Florida middle and high school students will be required to take yearly social studies classes on the history of communism. Their curriculum has already received the stamp of approval from the Conservative Heritage Foundation, the group behind Project 2025, a right-wing nonprofit organization called the National Association of Scholars, and an NAS spin-off called the Civics Alliance, and it follows on the heels of the state's 2022 imposition of the Victims of Communism Day, which is now held every November 7th to mark the start of the 1917 Bolshevik Revolution in Russia. Again, Victims of Communism, probably backed by Victims of Communism Foundation, if I had to guess. And Victims of Communism, we know, government-funded CIA kind of operation that is based on the Black Book of Communism as well. That same org who wrote that. And Victims of Communism, also our favorite people who are caught honoring dead Nazis all the time, right? It's the Canadians in the chat. You know what I'm talking about. Victims of Communism Memorial faces call to remove over 330 names linked to Nazis and fascists in the Ottawa Citizen. So these are the people, affiliated with the Victims of Communism Day. Yep. Oops. All Waffen SS. All Nazis. Oops. The Victims of Communism. Yeah, they're all fucking Nazis. Uh-huh. And they ended up not putting any names on it. We keep telling them that, hey, communism's pretty cool unless you're a Nazi. Was your grandpa who didn't like it a Nazi, maybe? They keep thinking they think we're lying. And their grandpas are all Nazis. I don't know what to tell these people. Karl Marx kill 100 billion people. So, Victims of Communism Day, they're behind that. The annual commemoration requires schools to provide a minimum of 45 minutes of instruction, on the horrors of communism and the destructiveness of Marxism-Leninism. They're calling us out by name, chat. Ultimately, this is what got me. I was like, what does the United States government really feel threatened by at the end of the day? They're telling you by name. It's Marxist-Leninism. Right? And I'm like, damn, if that's who's threatening them, that's the side I want to be on. Right? I want to end this thing. I want to build a better world. And that's who they think can do it. They're telling us that's who they think can do it. They are saying they think Marxist-Leninism can destroy the world they've built. And I'm like, bet, okay, sign me up. Programming is also expected to inculcate an appreciation for the founding principles of the American Republic. What these principles are is not specified. Sorry, I love our chat so much. Okay, so this is from Truth Out, and this was created by, it's backed, we know, by the Heritage Foundation. It has the appeal from them. And also has, the approval from them. It also has the approval of the National Association of Scholars and an NIS spinoff called Civics Alliance. So the new curriculum builds on this one-day event and also expands the Sunshine State's commitment to, quote, the Phoenix Declaration, an American vision for education, which was developed by the Heritage Foundation and released in February of 2025. According to Florida's Education Commissioner, Anastasios Kamoutsas, the state's official approval of the declaration, which was announced at a press conference, reflects the state's affiliation with the Heritage Foundation and restricts topics the state has long viewed as pedagogically problematic, including instruction that covers sexual orientation, gender identity, racial inequality, and diversity, equity, and inclusion. Instead, the Declaration pledges curricula that foster a love of country and purportedly teaches children to seek the good, true, and beautiful. Look, I'm just going to say, we keep telling them, if you want to woke, if you want to do woke 2.0, if you want to do dark woke, if you want to woke max, it is Marxist-Leninism. This is what we are saying. And nobody's listening to us. So when they're out here saying, oh, you want to talk about sexual orientation, gender identity, racial inequality, DEI, what's their move? What's their move to stop that? They shut down Marxist-Leninism. I don't know why these liberals won't believe that we are the most woke. If you just keep going up the woke ladder, we're the top rung, baby. We're up there. We are up there. It's us. How do they not get this? We keep telling them. And they're like, no, because you love dictators. It's crazy. It's crazy. And this is why we say the most woke you can get is getting a nuke to defend your neighbors. That's it. That's it. The liberals were out here. They were saying, defend your neighbors. Stand up for your neighbors. What else were they saying? Punch a Nazi. And they were like, bet. Yeah. Ukraine, weird as hell. Full of Nazis. Not into that. Let's punch them. They were like, what? And they were like, yeah, bet. Defend your neighbors. Like the innocent people of the Korean Peninsula with nuclear weapons. They were like, what the fuck is wrong with you? They didn't mean it. They're woke minning. They're way down here. They're woke minning. We've surpassed them. They're not ready for it. What if you punch Nazis, like, really hard, Malrish says? Like, nuclear hard. Thank you. This is all we're saying. By any means necessary. Westerners say punch a Nazi, but get upset when their police or ICE agents are punched. Curious. Interesting. So, what are you going to do? So to date, Florida is the only state that signed on to the declaration, and Kamutsas and state education officials are arguing that the new history of communism standards will uphold the declaration's principles and bolster student support for capitalism and free enterprise. I wish I could say that they're wrong, but this will work on some people. I mean, it really will. It really will work on some people, which is the sad thing, right? Because we hear them all the time. How often do you guys hear liberals repeating just like gibberish about communism, just misinfo, disinfo about communism, and they don't even know where they heard it. They probably heard it in fucking history class in high school or some shit. Right? So it's gonna work. It's unfortunately going to work. The rationale is explicit. Young Americans' avowed fondness for socialism and communism is the corollary of never having been taught about the poverty, cruelty, and mass murder that are characteristic accompaniments of communism in practice. First of all, they're told this every day. Americans are told this every day. Stalin, big spoon grain, famine, 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 Mao killed 100 million people. They are literally taught this every day, and it's not even true. None of this shit is true, and they're constantly taught this, but whatever. It's difficult to believe that Zoran Mamdani, for example, would have received such enthusiastic support if New York students had been taught about the lamentable catalog of atrocities committed in the name of communism by Lenin and Stalin, by Mao and Pol Pot, why is he in there, by Fidel Castro and Che Guevara, right? Yeah, you looked at a modern history book, Malrish says, that's literally the only thing about Stalin now. This is just wild. It's like, first of all, Pol Pot, not a communist. But everybody else, also, Zoran Mamdani. I've never heard Zoran Mamdani once say positive shit about Lenin. It might make me like him. Don't ignore the beep. We're never going to replace that. You guys need to know that is never getting replaced. That is never getting replaced. Yeah, that's my smoke alarm. It just does that. Look, my light is broken. My smoke alarm's beeping. Malcolm was falling earlier. I had to tape him up in the corner. I don't know what happened to that. There was a nail in that wall. I don't know what's going on here. I probably won't die in a fire because I got like 80 of those hardwired all around my house. When I bought this house, I was just like, oh, it's got a lot of smoke alarms. Maybe I'll take some down. No, hardwired. So, I think it's fine. It's probably fine. I think it's probably fine. I should ask my partner. Yeah, my partner literally is like an electrician. I didn't even think about that. We gotta look into that. Okay. So, anyway, this is absolutely wild. We know Zoran Mamdani is not out here talking about how much he loves Lenin and Stalin and Mao. All right. We know he's not. He's a democratic socialist, but even that is terrifying them. Even the Democrat, soft communist, soft socialist, we've got socialist at home thing is terrifying to Republicans. And I think the thing is this is what Marxist-Leninists recognize. Look, when we say we're going to build off the popularity of Zoran Mamdani, that doesn't mean we think Zoran Mamdani is a socialist. But what that means is he's calling himself a socialist, and people aren't afraid of the word. And there's something there. There's something there to work with. We're like, okay, we can take that. Real socialism you're going to like even better, actually. It's got way more good stuff than this. And it's positive that at the very, very least, these people are out here calling themselves socialists, even though we know they're fucking not. It is getting people more comfortable with the verbiage. They're not afraid of it anymore. So, okay, it's not a win, but it is something that we can work with. And Republicans are even trying to destroy that. They're like, no, 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 no. And I think Republicans actually see it more the way we do. Democrats are like, this will placate people. We'll just tell them this is what socialism is and they'll be happy. I think Republicans actually see it the same way we do, which is that this is actually a slippery slope to get you comfortable with real communism, with real socialism. This is a way to get you to the point where you're not afraid of the word socialism. Next thing you know, people are talking about Lenin and Stalin and Mao. Maybe it doesn't sound so scary anymore. And they actually are correct, I think, to have that assessment, because that's the same assessment I have. The only difference is they think that's bad. I think that's cool as fuck, right? You think, okay, 999 says we need to start dropping the term socialist and using the term communist to differentiate ourselves from cowards like Soren. I mean, yes, but also it's like, do you want to scare the hoes? That's the real question. Do you want to scare the host? Can we recommend some good books on Stalin? On Stalin specifically. Chad, do you guys have any good books on Stalin specifically? I know some. I have some in my entry-level reading list about the USSR, but I don't know if I have anything about Stalin specifically. What do you guys think? What is the benefit, the most dangerous organization in America? The DSA? Cool. Wow. Okay. Foundations of Leninism. We actually, I think, read it on live stream one day. Didn't we read it? Wasn't it Foundations of Leninism we read a little bit of on live stream? On a Theory Thursday? Okay. Joe Zachar says, from a European perspective, I'd like to point out that in the ROI, the history curriculum covering the Soviet Union does not make explicitly anti-communist statements, but the majority of what's covered is only Stalin. There's no coverage of the satellite states or international relations statistics of any kind. We do such a chapter on propaganda, yet isn't that ironic? It's not just the U.S. that practices indoctrination, it's pretty much all of the West and an uncomfortable amount of Europeans as well. Very, very interesting, yes. Okay, so I guess, Stalin, a critique of Black legend. Okay, Kubashi's got some recommendations. Cool. Everybody check out the chat for Rex on just Stalin. Kubashi, I trust. Okay, so our question here about the utility of the term socialism versus communism. How important, I guess this is what it is. Who are you speaking to, right? So when I first joined TikTok, I was like, I'm going to talk to people about socialism, right? Obviously, I'm a socialist. That's what I'm going to do. And I found very, very quickly that you could reach people when you said socialism instead of communism, right? And so that's a word that I use a lot. And then, of course, I caught some liberals who were very, very confused. And when they found out I didn't vote for Kamala Harris, 200,000 of them unfollowed me and abandoned ship. You know, it happened, right? I never lied about who I was. I never misrepresented anything. I just sometimes use the word socialist instead of communist. But I think also it did get some people to listen to me. And I think it did get some people to really think about it and be like, well, I'm not afraid of the word socialism, but some of those people might have initially had bad reactions to the word communism. So this is a question I always think about. Who are we talking to? When I talk to other socialists, I'm more likely to say that I'm a communist because I want to know what the fuck we're talking about. Who am I talking about? Who am I talking to right now? You know, what are we saying? And I like being able to say, well, I'm a Marxist-Leninist. I'm a communist. And people know what that means, right? And somebody else, if they're like, I'm a Marxist-Leninist too, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. All right, got it. Yeah, we know what we're talking about. We're on the same page. But is there utility in not scaring the hoes while you can try to raise class consciousness? And it doesn't mean you misrepresent who you are. If anybody ever asked me, socialist, wait, like a communist, I would be like, yeah, definitely, I'm a communist. I'm never going to hide that. But sometimes using the language that doesn't scare them first, that actually gets them to listen. I wonder what you guys think about the utility in that. Right? Okay, so Comrade Lilith, when you first discovered me, I was like, oh, this person's admitting they're a communist. I must know more. Okay, so that's good too. Rob says this is a strategy that converted me because I just need more education. And I do think it's an opportunity and an in with people. So I often ask myself, who am I talking to right now? Am I talking to other communists? Because sometimes I am. Sometimes I am talking to other communists. And I'm like, yeah, like, we're calling ourselves communists. We know what we're talking about. But sometimes I'm talking to people who aren't communists, right? And I want to try to bring about some class consciousness. I want to get them to think about things a little bit differently. And that's more when I'm likely to use the term socialist. You even see on TikTok, I use the word leftist. Why? Because people like the word leftist. And so I try to use it as an opportunity to give them an orientation. Oh, you're a leftist. Okay, well, if you're a leftist, start defending the DPRK like your life depends on it, babe. That's the actual left-wing political position to take here. Oh, you're a leftist. I don't know. Maybe get the Ukraine flag out of your bio because that's an American neo-colonial pet project to create fascism and sow chaos in that region, right? So I do think there's an opportunity in there. I don't know. Very, very interesting. I got you with you should read Principles of Communism as a pamphlet. Yes! Yes. Okay, Mallory says, part of the liberal brain disease is the obsession with the optics and aesthetics of language. Something for immigrant comrades to be aware of. If you count yourself as an international communist on paperwork, that counts against you. Interesting. 999. I agree to some extent, but the danger is always them being lumped in with people like Zoran and their inevitable failures. True. This is an issue in a lot of places where we've had reformists and soapdoms in power, and then their bad policies get conflated with the whole socialist movement. That's actually a really good point. Yeah, we haven't had enough of that in the United States. Right? We've had a little bit of that, but not a lot. That's actually a really good point. Rob, PSL is Marxist-Leninist, uses socialists everywhere, and seems to have a lot of success with converting progressives. I do always say that PSL is good at talking to liberals. PSL can convert a liberal. FRSO is where you go if you've got that anti-liberal rage in you already. PSL is where you go if you think you might harbor a little bit more liberal tendencies, probably. And both are very, very strong, and they work together, and they're both good orgs, I think. So, yeah, I'm reading chat. Sorry. I know you keep saying about Yuri Andropov. I just want to make sure we stay on topic today. Because we don't have a lot of time. You know? Yeah. Okay, so let's get back into this. So, you know, they're talking about themselves, the same issue we identify. How do you relate Zoran Mamdani to Lenin? Right? And that's a question we try to solve for ourselves, but in different ways and to different ends. So, moreover, a state DOE press release sings the history of communism standards praises, saying Florida is leading the nation by equipping students with a truthful, in-depth understanding of how communist ideologies suppress individual freedoms, abuse power, and inflict widespread suffering. Yes, the ideology that has increased literacy rates and life expectancy everywhere that these people have been in charge. So abuse of power. So widespread suffering. To hammer the idea, the curriculum outlines a range of topics to be covered. How communist espionage undermined U.S. national security and continues to pose a threat to the United States and its allies. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, brother. Yeah, we did. Love that. How communists infiltrated the civil rights movement. Fuck yeah, we did. Why? Because you defend your black neighbors with a nuke. We defend our neighbors. We stand up for marginalized communities with nuclear weapons if necessary. And how communist indoctrination works among them. That's us. That's what we're doing out here, chat. We're doing the communist indoctrination work. So proud of that. The curriculum presents Joseph McCarthy and the House Un-American Activities Committee as champions of anti-communism. I don't know if do you guys know about McCarthyism if you're not an American communist, or is this just an us thing? If you guys aren't in the USA? Is that like an internationally known thing? That we had this like senator who went cuckoo bananas during the Cold War and started getting obsessed with thinking everybody was a communist and started running these like witch hunts in our Senate, just like, you're a communist, who's a communist? Like keeping lists of people, and then like people were getting like blacklisted and not able to find work, and then everybody was turning each other in as communists, and then we got Reagan as a part of this. Reagan actually came from this because he was an actor in Hollywood, and Hollywood was really aggressively targeted by this. It wasn't taught to you, Kubashi? Okay. Yeah, it was wild. It was like this literal, like a witch hunt era thing. Like mass psychotic panic about everybody secretly being a communist in the United States, and it was especially hard hitting in the entertainment industry, and they were dragging everyday average Americans into Senate hearings to be like, are you now, or have you ever been a member of the Communist Party of the United States of America? And then they were like, who do you know who's a communist? Name 10 communists and we'll let you go. So then people just started naming random people they didn't like. They were like, yeah, Tom in accounting's definitely a communist. Fuck that guy. Real commie vibes over there. And it was super, super kooky. And yeah, this is part of how Reagan ended up getting recruited, because the FBI was kind of monitoring what was going on with communists in Hollywood at the time. Very, very interesting. So this is McCarthy and the House Un-American Activities Committee. That's where they would question you. And this is now saying that, and most Americans, even conservatives, if you ask them about McCarthyism, they'll be like, oh, that guy was a crackpot. That guy was pretty insane. So the fact that they're like, no, McCarthy and the House Un-American Activity Committee, they were champions of anti-communism, actually. This is actually pretty wild. This is like the equivalent of a kookballs guy on the street just yelling things that don't make sense while standing on a soapbox. The curriculum also denounces collectives and extols the value of private property and the acquisition of individual wealth. $10 says that they do not define the difference between private and personal property, right? They probably are out here telling you the house you live in is private property. They want to take your house from you. Cuba comes in for a particular drug. Oh, of course, it's Florida. It is described in the curriculum as a key exporter of revolutionary internationalism, which of course is depicted in negative terms. They are actually a key exporter of revolutionary internationalism, though, and we commend them for that, Cuba. Andrew Spar, president of the Florida Education Association, is critical of the anti-communist curriculum. Nonetheless, he told Truth Out, Florida's Code of Ethics requires educators to teach the state standards. That's the challenge. Teachers already feel handcuffed. If they want to use their own resources or add a supplemental reading or film, these materials must first be approved by the district. We know that public students need and deserve more than math and reading instruction. They need the honest teaching of history. A democratic society demands that students learn how to think, not what to think. Debate and discussion drive ingenuity and the development of problem-solving skills, but that is not what's being promoted. Indeed, Spar reports that teachers are feeling increasingly anxious about what can and cannot be taught. The state needs to let teachers teach, he said. It's concerning that the right wing says it wants to take politics out of education, but this requirement does the exact opposite. Spar is far from alone in his critique. Still, despite union and community opposition to the standards, teachers and administrators expect the curriculum to be rolled out at the start of the 2026-2027 school year. So what does that mean for us? It means that things are about to get harder for us, right? It's about to get harder for us. Students are about to get even more indoctrinated into anti-communist thinking. So this is really an opportunity for us to sharpen our rhetoric and really hone in on ways to increase class consciousness and get people to really understand, like, hey, rich guys are desperate to convince you communism is bad. Why do you think that is? Who do you think it's bad for? It's bad for the rich guys. Why? Why is it bad for the rich guys? And is what's bad for the rich guys bad for you? Historically speaking, when has something that hurts rich guys ever actually hurt you too? So this is really the thought process we have to go in trying to get through to a new generation of kids. What is this, Gen Alpha, right? Going to be in high school in 2026, 2027? Is that Gen Alpha? It's not still Gen Z, is it? But whatever the case, this is going to be what we have to work on, right? So we got it might also backfire. Kids hate schools. They don't trust authority. So maybe it'll backfire on them. And maybe it'll create even more communists. Who knows? Opponents hope the negative assessments of the curriculum will deter other states from latching onto the model. Timothy Snyder, a scholar who has written extensively about authoritarian regimes, used his Substack to denounce the curriculum for its oversimplification of the U.S. as the best country in the world. The U.S. is to be defined as free and democratic regardless of what Americans or their legislators actually do, he wrote. What's more, he concludes that the curriculum derails meaningful examination of the country's histories and limits through thought about the best ways to preserve and expand equity, fairness, and liberty. So this is a libbed out thing. Whoa, guys. We all know authoritarian regimes are bad. But wait a minute, we should be able to critique the government a little bit. Like, okay, whatever. Liberal bullshit, non-assistance. Like Snyder, historian Ellen Schrecker is an expert on right-wing repression and especially McCarthyism, and told Truth Out that many false claims in Florida's new curriculum need to be addressed. They're pulling up random facts about a communist attack on so-called American values. What students will be taught is a view of communist threat that did not and does not exist. The presentation of an out-of-control left, socialist and communist, that has continuously tried to undermine American security is false. We have to look at what is missing from the curriculum. For one thing, its coverage of McCarthy does not mention that people lost their jobs, really suffered because of his attacks. I mean, that's true. That's also a lib thing. Timothy Snyder, the famous Stalin hater. Wait, somebody was talking about Grover Furr versus Timothy Snyder, right? Grover Furr is so interesting to me because sometimes Grover Furr does get on some anti-USSR shit post-Stalin in a way that I'm like, well, yeah, this seems... I mean, like, don't get me wrong. Obviously, we don't have the USSR today, right? Khrushchev, real fucking loser. Did some weird shit, right? Totally. But some of the shit that Grover Furr gets on sometimes about China, too, sometimes I'm like, or Vietnam, I'm like, that's interesting. But he's really great on Stalin. Right? Yeah, like, I love Grover Furr's stuff on Stalin. He also does a lot of really good stuff about Pol Pot, where he's like, fuck Pol Pot. And I'm like, okay, thank you, Grover Furr. Yeah. And I recommend people read Grover Furr's work on Pol Pot all the time, certainly. And on Stalin. Obviously, we all kind of know Khrushchev lied, obviously, by Grover Furr. He's the only pro-Stalin left con. That is really what it is. His position is so perplexing sometimes because he really is a pro-Stalin left con. It's very, very interesting. Yeah, Khrushchev did do the Cuban Missile Crisis, and it was Khrushchev, under Khrushchev, that he accurately saw that what was happening in Hungary was a CIA-backed color revolution attempt. And was like, no, fuck that, right? That was under Khrushchev. People think that was under Stalin. It wasn't. So Khrushchev, but again, we've talked about this a lot in terms of why it's important to keep your revolution alive and not throw your previous revolutionary leaders under the bus. And Khrushchev did the opposite of that, which there's no excuse for. So, Ellen Strecker says, they're pulling up random facts about a communist attack on so-called American values. What students will be taught is a view of communist threat that did not and does not exist. The presentation of an out-of-control left, socialist and communist, that has continually tried to undermine American security is false. We have to look at what is missing from the curriculum. For one thing, its coverage of McCarthy does not mention that people lost their jobs. Okay, we talked about all this. Sorry, I'm rereading it here. Like Schneider, Strecker sees the portrayal of the U.S. as a world beacon as problematic. The curriculum presents the U.S. with its great white male Christian leaders as perfect in most ways, but cautions that the country can be threatened by external socialist or communist forces, she explained. There's no mention of people who have been oppressed in the U.S. or given limited opportunities. There's also a vague us versus them positioning with a focus on individual over collective responses. Again, a lib critique. John White, a professor of English and adolescent literacy at the University of North Florida, is also troubled by the fallacies put forward in the history of communism standards. The right wing says that teachers should not indoctrinate students, but they have put forward a curriculum that indoctrinates students with a particular viewpoint. The curriculum conflates communism and socialism as if they are one ideology. Okay. White also agreed with Strecker. The curriculum ignores the fact that Joseph McCarthy was the epitome of a blowhard who has been widely discredited. Okay, that's kind of funny. It's true. Worse, the term communism seems to be a catchphrase for any ideas that the right does not like. And that is true. So all these people out here with their anti-communist, even the communists who are anti-communist somehow, that movement of people who are like, I'm a communist, but I don't support any actually existing socialism or any living communists, those kinds of people. It's like, who does that benefit? They're still going to come for you. You're like a weird pick-me communist. It doesn't help anybody, right? It's very, very weird. So White said many of his students want to become social studies teachers because they love history and politics. They don't want to look at the world as a binary between good and evil or opposing racism, sexism, and homophobia in the evil category and blind patriotism in the good category, he continued. Students do not need to be spoon-fed. This curriculum is the antithesis of good teaching because it undermines critical thinking. But these objections do not bother Florida's Department of Education or the DeSantis administration. Indeed, they see the history of communism standards as a continuation of a required class called Americanism versus Communism that was taught to the state's middle and high school students between 1962 and 1983. Okay, yeah, great. This explains my parents. The course mandate was instituted following the Bay of Pigs invasion in April of 1961 and was explicit in its intent to teach Florida kids about the dangers of communism, the way to fight communism, the evils of communism, the fallacies of communism, and the false doctrines of communism. They're really advertising sleight of hand. They're like, don't look at the statistics, the improvements. Don't pay attention to the fact that they won the space race and that their people are living longer than ours. Don't look at that. That's false. That's a false doctrine, and it's evil, and it's a fallacy. The truth is, USA good. That was really the whole approach. It's pretty funny. Wait, is Sammy really a chatbot? Did we get a chatbot, really? That would be so cool if true. Linda Camarasana, a retired professor of English at the State University of New York in Old Westbury, took a class in 1976 while in high school in North Miami Beach. We knew that the goal was to teach us about the evils of communism and stress that the USA was superior, Camarasana told Truth Out. But at the time, the population of North Miami was very liberal, and so were our teachers. We learned about the conditions that led to the Russian Revolution and that caused people to rise up. And despite knowing the class was meant to present communism as horrible, she said she got a balanced viewpoint that prompted independent study and research. Okay, so it could backfire. This could backfire on Republicans. Both DeSantis and Kamoutsas are hell-bent on making sure that the current history of communism standards do not offer students or their teachers this kind of wiggle room to debate systems of governance. As Kamoutsas said in a 2025 press conference, stopping the resurgence of communist ideologies across the United States and throughout the world is a Florida educational priority. We're winning! Guys, we're winning! They're scared! He has asserted that he and the state DOE are confident the curriculum will soon be adopted by other states. All right, so that is section 1. Now let's get into section 2, which is, this is step 1, is try to indoctrinate. What happens if they can't win the war with words, though, right? What happens when we keep winning? And this is what brings us to section 2. Now, this is just a Substack, HR News, right? So I'm not familiar with this. Does anybody have any backstory on this? On what HR News Substack is? Anything we know about that? Award-winning journalism. We have seen this. Anything else for us to get into? No? Okay, we'll just take a look. We'll jump on in. How much longer do you have me for? Probably around 45 minutes. Not a long time, but a little time. Okay. So this says, the U.S. is building the largest detention network in its history. Not just immigrants, not just criminals. The United States is about to mass incarcerate everyone who opposes the government. The United States already incarcerates more people than any other country on Earth, approximately 1.8 million people as of 2024. I believe we also usually are number one for per capita as a percent of our population. Sometimes we're number two, but usually we're number one. According to the Vera Institute of Justice, that number has been rising again after a brief post-COVID dip, with 40 states increasing their prison population between 2022 and 2024. Now the federal government is building on top of that system. ICE is planning to expand its detention capacity to over 107,000 beds, up from around 41,000 at the start of the Trump administration's second term. Let's take a look at that. We have the story here. And this is according to the Washington Post. Okay. So to reach that number, the agency needs to open or significantly expand approximately 125 facilities nationwide. Would I say that I'm the most popular millennial Marxist-Leninist? That can't be true. Maybe in slop quarters of social media, where we all dwell, where I'm happy to have you as my friends and comrades. But I'm not sure. I honestly don't know who... There's got to be people in academic circles, certainly, who are Marxist-Leninists in my age range. So maybe on social media? In the United States, on social media, possibly. Possibly. If we're just going by follower count, you know? I have people whose whole profiles are just talking smack about me. That is true. It's wild, though, too, because I always say this. I'm like, you put me in a room of normal people, I'm like, I'm a genius. You put me in a room of other Marxist-Leninists, and I'm like, I am of average intellect, thank God. Like, there are some really smart people in this room, holy shit. Which is interesting, and it's very fascinating, because I think a lot of people who aren't familiar with Marxist-Leninism or aren't super politically literate, they think a lot of my ideas are just my ideas, and they don't understand that these are pretty standard Marxist-Leninist ideas. I'm just probably the first person they've ever encountered who has them because of my like following count on the internet alone, which is pretty interesting, right? Kim Jong-il, maybe. Is Kim Jong-un a millennial? How old is he? How old is Kim Jong? He's 42! Is he one of us? 1984. What year are millennials born? Yeah. Kim Jong-un's one of us. Our guy. So he's probably one of the most popular ones in the world. Because I think she's a little old. She aged out. He's a Gen Xer, I think. Yeah. You know, people know him, certainly. But they can't, they can, I guess, make videos talking trash about him on the internet, and they do often. The curse of the millennial Marxist-Leninists. Okay, this article does get a little weird at the end, but the beginning is interesting. Okay, cool, we'll look at this. I might be the most popular American millennial Marxist-Leninist on the internet. That I might acquiesce if that's true. I might. Yeah, we'll see. Whatever. Okay. So, the expansion is already underway. The number of ICE detention facilities grew from 111 to 144 in under a year, a 30% increase. Many of the new sites or former prisons and county jails had been closed or are now being brought back into use. First time chat, Neuro guy, that guy, nope. Nope, I'm not. Or just nope. You don't know how you ended up here and you're lost and confused, but want to tell somebody that you don't think that you belong here with us. Oh, okay, good. Yay, anarchist tech support. I'm glad I helped. Abraham Troy, also a millennial. And this is what I try to tell people. My ideas aren't that shocking outside of the United States. You know? So, several of the newer expanded sites are large-scale operations. A warehouse in Williamsport, Maryland is being converted into a detention center designed to hold around 1,500 people. Indiana agreed to convert an entire state prison to hold 1,000 ICE detainees. Nebraska opened a facility called the Cornhusker Clink. Hell of a name. We're really branding American racism in a very strong fashion. Built from a former prison labor camp with around 280 beds. The Fort Bliss facility in Texas was planned to hold up to 5,000 detainees, which would make it one of the largest immigration detention sites in the United States history. Private prison operators are central to the expansion. And again, who was out here saying that private prisons were a problem this whole fucking time? You know, the pesky communists. We've been talking about how this is bad. We've been raising the alarm about this since like the 80s, but okay. CoreCivic, one of the largest for-profit prison companies in the country, signed contracts with ICE in early 2025 to expand capacity across multiple facilities in several states. Oh, sorry, screen share. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Because private operators can scale quickly when government contracts increase, they function as a flexible extension of federal detention capacity. The U.S. detainee population hit a record high of around 66,000 people in ICE custody in 2025. The target of 107,000 beds would represent roughly a 160% increase from pre-expansion capacity. I just want to say also, 107,000 beds, we know that the way people are being kept in ICE detention centers, they don't have beds. Like, I'm going to look this up. They're like in these cramped spaces. They're laying on the floor a lot of the time. It's like prison cell style. I mean, this is really how people are being kept in ICE detention center. Like, that's a baby. This person's holding a baby over here. You know, these are little kids. Like, this shit's so fucked. Yeah, they have foil, blankets, thin-ass pillows. I mean, it's fucking inhumane. So, for comparison, the entire prison population of Germany, a country of 84 million people, is around 60,000. So we're 3 times the size of that, of Germany. A little over 3 times. 4 times, maybe 4. Yeah, they are more like camps where people are concentrated, Malish. You are correct. It's fucking crazy. The U.S. is planning a detention network for immigration enforcement alone that would exceed that. The broader U.S. incarceration system already dwarfs every other country. The U.S. has about 4% of the world's population and holds roughly 20% of its prisoners. The current expansion adds a parallel federal detention center system on top of that existing structure. Now, again, we've talked about this for a long, long time about how the U.S. prison system is fucked up, how in the United States, incarceration does not reduce recidivism, how actually if you want to stop crime, you need to improve people's material reality. A lot of crime can be prevented, right, just by giving people the resources they need to live, which is something that, hey, communists want to do. And we know that the whole private for-profit prison system is based on 2 things, right, enslavement of incarcerated Black individuals in the United States. And also, these prisons literally are on government contracts and they get paid per person they have in them a lot of the times from the U.S. government. So this is really why we do this, right? It's for profit. It's for money. Here's the tinfoil blankets also that people are talking about. The immediate justification for the expansion is immigration enforcement. Critics raise 2 separate concerns beyond that stated purpose. The first is conditions and oversight. Existing ICE detention facilities have been documented records of inadequate medical care, deaths in custody, and limited access to legal representation. Expanding the system rapidly, particularly by converting non-detention facilities with minimal adaptation, makes oversight harder, not easier. By any means necessary, says the only guaranteed access to mass public housing built in the West over the last 50 years has been prisons. Yep, that's true. And if you don't live in the United States, people will sometimes intentionally commit crimes here to go to prison, especially when weather is bad if they are homeless, right? Oop. Oop, 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 oop. You live in Louisiana, criminology is being shaped to whatever fills the prisons. Exactly. And it is important for us to also remember, like, what we consider a crime is social. And we talked about Marina Lita Spain last week. And Marina Lita, when they realized people were going hungry and they were breaking into grocery stores and stealing food, they just made it legal to steal food if you were hungry. And all of a sudden they don't have crime like that anymore because that's not a criminal offense. And that's important for us to remember too. What we consider crime, that is social. And if you don't live in the United States, we have all sorts of weird shit that's considered crimes that usually you won't get busted for. But if you look in a way they don't like, you will. Jaywalking, for example. It's illegal to just cross the street wherever you want in the United States. Loitering. It's illegal to just be standing on the street in the United States without like trying to shop or be a patron at a business, basically. And these things are selectively enforced, and it's really just a way to enforce them against somebody you don't like the looks of. Yeah, homelessness also criminalized. There you go. So, and also just wild that we think the freest country on earth and we have 20% of the world's prison population. That should tell you how well the indoctrination works on so many people, right? They really think, they're like, yeah, we have freedom. Not like those other countries. Not like North Korea and Iran, right? And you're like, my guy, we have 20% of the world's prison population, only 4% of the world's overall population. That's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah, you can't just stand on the street in the United States. That's insane. But it doesn't matter, right? That's how the indoctrination works. And that also is why I think this is like such a hard ask because it's so expensive to leave the United States. But it's like you want to take every American and just plop them in even another random like capitalist country. Just be like, ploop, go there, go to some other random capitalist country and be like, they are able to give a better quality of life on the same fucked up system. God forbid we put them in China. Most people's heads explode, right? The first time they go to China. You see people like, what? I didn't understand life could be like this. And it's China doing that under a system of state capitalism. They're not even in socialism yet. Imagine how good it's going to be then. You know, and it's like you wish every American could have that outside perspective to at least understand that even in terms of capitalism, this is like a unique, fresh hell, right? That the United States has created. But even that's a hard ask because it's so expensive for Americans to travel. Oh, Fork just woke up. 1 second, okay? Okay, we're back. She went potty outside. She's a very good girl. Okay. So, what people should be concerned about with the expansion of ICE facilities, you know, the legal authorities that allow detention during declared national emergencies are already written into U.S. law and have never been repealed. Analysts who study Democratic backsliding note that the combination of expanded detention infrastructure, broad executive detention powers, and political rhetoric about internal threats has historically preceded the use of detention systems against populations beyond their original stated purpose. So this is what I was thinking of immediately. Japanese-American internment during World War II. If you don't live in the United States, I don't know if you know this, but we literally locked Japanese-Americans up in internment camps during World War II just because of their ethnicity. And in Fresno, where I'm from, they did this at the Fresno Fairgrounds. So we learned about this in school. So we did this. We were just like, oh, you're Japanese American? We can't trust you. Get in. You live in an internment camp now. Yeah, a lot of Americans don't even know that. That's true. So Japanese American internment during World War II is the most direct U.S. example. The camps were built and filled within weeks because of the legal and logistical capacity that already existed. None of this meant the current expansion will be used that way. It means the capacity is being built, and capacity tends to get used. Yep, that's also how we treated natives. Yes, exactly. This is not a metaphor. The 13th Amendment of the United States Constitution, ratified in 1865, reads, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted shall exist within the United States. The exception is explicit. Incarcerated people in the United States can be compelled to work, and in most states they can be paid nothing or close to nothing for their labor. Okay, so I just want to take a pause on this. Did you guys see that Donald Trump is now talking about bringing in more migrant labor? Did you guys see this? So this is a recent story. When is this from? March 15th. This is from yesterday. A Trump team, hold on, let's make these people shut up. Trump team wants to make it easier for migrants to work on U.S. farms after targeting them in deportation raids. Trump administration has quietly admitted in recent months its immigration crackdown was helping spark a farm labor shortage. Now, do you guys remember a while ago, I think this was under maybe George W. Bush. It could have been under Obama, though, TBH. It was another immigration row. People were talking about immigration and how everybody's getting deported. There was the Take Our Jobs, Please movement. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that. It was 2010, and it was launched by the United Farm Workers. It was a farm workers challenge. I'm going to show you guys this. So this is back in 2010. So this would have been, yeah, Obama era, right? I'm so bad with years. Yep, Obama. So Obama was famously the deporter-in-chief here in the United States. The current border czar that Trump is using came from Obama. Obama loved deporting people. So he was doing a mass deportation movement in 2010. And farm workers came together, Stephen Colbert lived out, and had this thing where they were like, okay, fine, take our jobs, please. And the idea of this was that the logic being used, the rhetoric being used, was that immigrants were taking away jobs from Americans. So farm workers, who were mostly immigrants, were like, okay, if you want our jobs, come take them. You can do them. And they literally said, if you were an American citizen and you wanted to come take their job, you could come do their job for a day, and then you could just have it if you wanted, if you were out of work. And like nobody did it. Most people couldn't even make it through a day because it was so difficult. And this is the thing, that Kelly Osbourne came under fire for. If you guys remember, Kelly Osbourne was on The View, I believe. Let me look this up. Okay, yes, this is 10 years ago. I'll play this video. 1 second.
Kelly Osbourne was invited to The View, and boy, did she cause a stir. She and the other hosts were discussing Donald Trump's recent derogatory remarks on immigration. See, co-host Rosie Perez said Trump's comments were not helping the current immigration situation in the U.S. Take a look.
Latinos here in this country that do agree that the immigration problem is a problem, and it does need to be addressed, and it does need to be fixed.
From there, Kelly Osbourne chimed in with a quote that went viral. Take another look.
Making those comments, those racist comments, do not help.
And if you kick every Latino out of this country, then who is going to be cleaning your toilet, Donald Trump?
Oh, that's no.
In the sense that, you know what I mean? Like, but I'm saying
There's more jobs to be
in LA.
So liberals lost it when she said this. But honestly, she was correct. She was correct because the thing about immigration is that immigrants are treated as the most exploitable labor force we have in the United States, right? We view them as a highly exploitable labor force. We give them bad jobs for very, very low pay, right? And liberals couldn't handle this because it was too much of a mirror. They wanted to pretend that all the Latino immigrants were coming here getting high-paying jobs and becoming rocket scientists. But that's not the way systemic oppression works. That's not the job opportunities that are being presented for a lot of Latino immigrants. Here in Los Angeles, what Kelly Osbourne was saying was correct. Kelly Osbourne lived in a wealthy, affluent area of Los Angeles. If you go to these areas of Los Angeles at a certain time of day, buses don't run up the hills. Right. And that's part of the appeal of living in the Hollywood Hills. Rich people don't live in LA proper. They live like in the hills, sometimes in different cities. You can see like a mass influx of Latina women walking up the Hollywood Hills from the bus stops to go start cleaning rich people's houses. And to pretend like we are not using Latina immigrants as this highly exploitable labor force is frankly delusional. And like, when you look at the statistics about how much money Latina women make for every white man's dollar earned in the United States, you really see that. And I'm going to look this up. We talk about this a lot in the Vote Socialist campaign. Pork one's back on the bed. I can hear her. So yeah, Latinas are the lowest paid group in the United States. Let's see if we can find the comparison, and that's even when they have degrees that are comparable. But we also know these job opportunities just are not presented for immigrants. Marxist came in when you were a Bernie bro, you told your white coworkers you wish Bernie won so we can make college free, and this pretty white woman said, who's going to serve the restaurants then? Yes. And I mean, the thing is, it's uncouth to say, like, oh my god, how could you say that? That's so disrespectful. It's not wrong, though. It actually is the current state of labor exploitation of immigrants in the USA, and we are treating them. This is a worker issue, right? These are highly exploited laboring classes. These are highly exploited workers. Their immigration status makes them extra vulnerable, and people like Donald Trump do take advantage of that. Donald Trump has underpaid immigrant labor, we found right at Mar-a-Lago. That came out during his first presidential term. So rich people, right, are taking advantage of this. They are doing this. Autistic Betty 3, there's a difference between saying they do and they should. Exactly. And liberals are like, well, when you say that, it's like, oh, you don't say that. Oh my God. But it is the actual reality of how things operate here. And we know that, right? When we look at this, and not the DSA. But we look at this, Trump wants to make it easier for migrants to work on U.S. farms. Yeah, because you are using immigrants as a highly exploited labor force. These are vulnerable workers. This is a worker exploitation issue. And now all of a sudden, you just got rid of a bunch of low-wage workers that it turns out your little capitalist rich guy buddies need to make money. And we have this like mythologized idea of the American farmer, like it's a subsistence farmer or something like that. No, a lot of these are major corporations. I grew up in the Central Valley surrounded by them. They are owned by extremely, extremely wealthy people, and they are using immigrant farm laborers as that highly exploited, vulnerable force, right? So that they can maximize the profit off of the top, right? Ugh, I gotta go put fork on the big red. She's so upset. Hold on. Okay, you know, we serve the dog. We live to serve the dog. And I like that she whines because then I can control her getting on and off the bed. She doesn't hurt her back. It's a whole fucking thing. Whatever. Okay. I serve the dog. So, yeah, I think all of this is super, super relevant to, is there a reason we're avoiding saying the words like wage slavery or straight up slavery? Yeah. I think, like, additionally, the world of highly exploited immigrant labor is something that you come face to face with in certain areas, in certain regions. And ironically, it's if you're kind of polarized on income. If you're a very, very rich person, you encounter it every single day because you are exploiting these people's labor. You have a whole army of domestic servants who are usually immigrants. You'll sometimes see out-of-touch rich girls go on TikTok and post videos about how much they love their nanny so much and their nanny was like a member of their family. And the stuff that kind of is just said quickly and glossed over is like, well, that woman who you consider your family, who raised you like you were her kid, she actually has a family and kids, like in another country that she's sending money back to. Sorry. So that's one side of it. But then also, if you are poor, if you live next door to these people, if you live around these people, if you are these people, if your family members are these people, you are encountering it firsthand as well. So a lot of people who are very like in the middle, right? They don't experience this. So they don't really understand. And I think those are also the types of liberals who are more likely to be like, oh, you can't say that. And it's like, well, you can. It is true. It is true. So very, very fascinating. Oh, Lilith, thank you. Gifting. Jositar, a tank drove by your house in rural France? What? Uh-oh. What's happening? So, okay, getting back into this and what this has to do, incarcerated people can be compelled to work. That's true. So if now all of a sudden you're noticing that in getting all the immigrants out, you lost a highly exploited labor class, what can you do? You can potentially convert them into a different type of highly exploited labor class. Basically, we know incarcerated people are forced to do labor in the United States. Also, that's weird too when people are always like, they have forced labor in this communist country. Like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to fact check this. I'm pretty sure every single type of incarceration in the United States can come along with forced labor. Maybe it's like state or federal. Hold on. I'm going to double check. We've got a little ACLU. A little ACLU on it. Okay, so 800,000 incarcerated workers in the United States, right? 800,000 people in prisons doing forced labor, basically. Prison labor, 70% said they're not able to afford basic necessities with prison wages. 64% said they felt concerned about their safety while working. 70% said they received no formal job training. 76% report being forced to work or face additional punishment. So we have forced labor in our prison systems in the United States. So this is really major. From the moment they enter the prison gates, incarcerated people lose the right to refuse to work, right? This is because of the 13th Amendment here in the United States. Today, more than 76% of incarcerated workers surveyed by the Bureau of Justice Statistics say they are required to work or face additional punishment, such as solitary confinement, denial of opportunities to reduce their sentence, and loss of family visitation. So what this means is that Donald Trump got rid of all the immigrants. As much as the liberals don't want to believe it's true, the immigrants were doing a lot of the necessary, low-paid, highly exploited labor in this country that rich people, capitalists, the owning class rely on. Donald Trump realized this was a problem. He deported all of the highly exploited laborers that his rich guy friends needed in order to continue to make a profit and stay rich. So what do they do now? Right? What do they do now? Let me get you a link for this really fast. Well, you have some options, and it appears you have two different options. Number one, Donald Trump is trying to bring in migrant workers again. We've seen that. That is very, very ironic. And also tells you something. It tells you that our system of American capitalism cannot rely on just like even the myth of good jobs. Like it just can't. Like our American capitalist system falls apart without highly, highly, highly exploited immigrant labor, which tells you how bullshit this system is. It's just a bad system that doesn't fucking work, right? So his options are, basically bring people in again to do work, or arrest them and keep them incarcerated in the United States so that they can be forced to do labor as incarcerated prison kind of prisoners, right? Because we have forced prison labor here as well. So those are the two kind of options, it looks like. So incarcerated people in the United States can be compelled to work. In most states, they can be paid nothing or close to nothing for the labor. Incarcerated workers across the country earn on average 13 cents to 52 cents per hour. Joseph Char, when you said California has a sweatshop problem comparable to that of 2000's China, I remember my eyes widening more than they ever have. Yeah, I would say it was worse. Honestly, and it's still worse. It is still worse. And a lot of immigrant women, a lot of Latino women have their passports confiscated. They're literally trafficked here. They have their passports stolen, and they're forced to work for cents on the dollar here. It's very, very alarming. Yeah. So the industries that benefit from this are not marginal. Prison labor produces goods and services for dozens of major corporations and government agencies. The agricultural, manufacturing, and service sectors all draw on it. So agricultural sector also is a sector that relies predominantly on heavily exploited immigrant labor, right? When we look at this Trump thing here, what does he want to do? He wants to make it easier for migrants to work on U.S. farms. Why? Because farms rely heavily on this. The agricultural sector relies heavily on slave labor in our prisons. U.S. farms rely heavily on immigrant labor forces that are highly exploited. So these things are overlapping, and this is really what we see with the ICE detention centers, it seems like. Do you have a hypothetical solution to the migrant labor problem? Would just paying them a fair wage and giving them protections be enough? I mean, the socialist program for this really is... it's, in the United States, it's a little unique to socialist programs on immigration in other countries because we already have a porous border. So a lot of other countries don't already have the porous border relationship that the United States does have with, in particular, Mexico, where we have a lot of migrant kind of labor programs where we're already going in all of Latin America, not just Mexico, but Central America, South America, and we are taking what we want. We are doing neocolonial expansion there. We are doing imperialism there. So in the United States, most Marxist-Leninist parties, most real ones anyway, have a policy of immediate naturalization for all immigrants. We want to make you a legal citizen if you want to be a legal citizen, right? We want to offer you protection in the United States even if you are not a legal citizen. And we want to treat you as a laborer, like any other labor. So your labor becomes part of the general labor issue, and it will be addressed the same way as everything else. So in California, we're running on providing this platform where Marxist-Lenin is running for office for the Vote Socialist campaign, right, that I volunteer on. We are pushing forward our program for Marxist-Leninists in the United States. What do we want? And what that looks like is all immigrants in California are protected legally, and they're entitled to the same work opportunities as all non-immigrants, which is $30 an hour minimum wage guaranteed jobs and union jobs, which is what we're pushing, which makes sense. So As the detention system expands to potentially hold hundreds of thousands of people, the pool of legally compellable labor expands with it. The 13th Amendment was not an oversight. It was a design choice that has never been revisited in any meaningful way. True. Criminalizing dissent. The legal definition of domestic terrorism in the United States is broad enough to apply to a wide range of political activity. Under Section 18 of USC 2331, domestic terrorism includes acts that appear to be intended to intimidate or coerce a civilian population or to influence the policy of a government by intimidation or coercion. That language has no hard boundary. Trump and members of his administration have explicitly named Antifa and anti-capitalist groups as terrorist or criminal organizations. Antifa is not a formal organization. It has no membership, no leadership structure, no headquarters. It is a loose descriptor for people who identify as anti-fascist. Designating an ideology rather than a specific group as terrorism creates a category that it can expand to include almost anyone who opposes the government's direction, especially if the government is becoming fascist increasingly over time. It is already happening in allied countries. In the United Kingdom, people have been arrested and imprisoned for social media posts, not for physical acts, but just for words. This has happened in the United States as well. I just want to say, there are communists on TikTok who have been arrested for posts they've made on TikTok. In the United States, protesters have faced terrorism-adjacent charges for participating in demonstrations. The legal scaffolding to criminalize political opposition is being constructed incrementally, charge by charge, definition by definition. If anti-capitalism, an extremely broad political position held by tens of millions of people globally, is ever formally designated a form of extremism in the United States under law, the implications for free political speech would be severe. It has not happened yet, but the direction of travel is visible. So several converging developments in digital infrastructure point towards a system in which personal identity, online activity, and government databases become deeply linked. The push for Real ID compliance, now mandatory for federal purposes, has standardized identification across states and created a national de facto ID system. Proposals to link government IDs to social media accounts have circulated in various forms at both state and federal level. The FBI and DHS have documented programs that monitor social media at scale, including the activity of protest movements, journalists, and political activists, according to documents obtained by the ACLU. Immigration enforcement has already built a template for this. ICE uses commercial data brokers to track location data, license plates, and financial records without warrants, using data purchased from private companies that are not subject to the same constitutional constraints as law enforcement. Palantir, the data analytics company co-founded by Peter Thiel, holds major contracts with ICE, the FBI, and the U.S. Army. The infrastructure for comprehensive population surveillance exists. It is operational. It is currently aimed primarily at immigrants and protesters. Whether it stays that way depends entirely on who controls it and what laws govern its use, and those laws are being written or left unwritten right now. Now, I want to take a second to say this. One of the benefits of joining a socialist organization is that they are very good at security. They are very good at making sure you don't fall into random acts of adventurism that compromise your ability to actually do good work, do good socialist work. And if you're a person who struggles with impulse control, who maybe was an anarchist in the past, just saying, joining a socialist org will give you the discipline to learn how to engage in your political ideology and political activity in a way that minimizes your risk of getting picked up and incarcerated over something just like a protest. That's not worth it. That's not a worthwhile thing to get arrested over, right? Especially not if it leads to you being incarcerated potentially. And when Lenin talked about adventurism, this is really the era that Lenin's work on adventurism, I think, becomes very important for us to keep in mind. Are you willing to lose your capacity to fight for long-term change over short-term acts of like upheaval, right? And that's something that we as Marxist-Leninists tend to be more disciplined than other ideologies on. And I think that is actually something that is a strength of ours. And joining a socialist org where people take that seriously, I think will benefit you, right? They don't want you to act up at a protest in a way that ultimately doesn't benefit or move the movement forward in any capacity, but just gets you maybe sent to prison. And that's a good skill, I think, for people to learn. Oh, Peter Thiel grew up in a South African Nazi community. Yeah, that makes sense. I didn't know that, but like I knew that. You know what I mean? So I think that is something that has been very beneficial for me. Being in a good org has taught me that. Don't shoot yourself in the foot, right? And a good org will help train that kind of into you, that kind of discipline, right? Your actions must be strategic. Exactly. Ghost in his how. And that doesn't mean that people who get locked up on this stuff deserve it, or they should have done something different, or they could have done something different. But as somebody who, in my youth especially, struggled with poor impulse control, looking at Alex Preddy and Renee Good, not Renee Good so much, but Well, I guess Renee Good too. The ICE goaded these people. They gave them conflicting orders. They messed with them. And I could have been either of those people, right? I would have been way more aggressive, certainly, than Renee Good was. And I could be dead. And that doesn't help anybody, right? That doesn't help anybody. If you are martyred for your political beliefs or something, like conflicting traffic directions. And that doesn't mean that what they were doing wasn't noble. They were doing the right thing. They were doing good things by speaking out and caring about their communities. But when we say, you're stronger together, you're stronger when you're organized, that's part of it. Having a group of people who are like, hey, in these situations, this is what we do. Like, we have learned from each other's experiences. We're drawing on each other's experiences here. I think this stuff is helpful. So that is another thing I think is a strength of joining a socialist org. If that makes sense, And that is a strength, too, that you will learn about the difference between strategic movements and adventurism. And it would be a shame to lose anybody to adventurism because they are frustrated and upset, rightfully so, but don't know where to put that energy. Yeah, Fork's mad. Yeah. Fork! Do you want to come here? She's thinking about it. Fork! No, she said no. But yeah. So, Chairman Fork deserves a treat. After stream, Chairman Fork will get a treat. So, all right, the ideological blueprint. To understand where some of the people currently shaping U.S. policy want to take it, it helps to read what they've actually written and said. Curtis Yarvin, writing under the pseudonym Mencius Moldbug, I cannot handle how cringe. I didn't think the ascent to overt fascism would be so cringy. Nobody prepared me for that. It's embarrassing. Like, why are you writing under the pseudonym Mencius Moldbug? Like, you wear a fucking monocle and a top hat and work at a suspenders bar. Like, doing mixology. Ugh. Developed what he called a neo-reaction. It's epic fury level, yes. So this guy developed what he called a neo-reaction, a systematic rejection of democracy, equality, and the Enlightenment values that underpin liberal governance. His core argument is that democracy is a failed system producing managed decline. This is the fascist argument. This is Mussolini's argument as well, and that's why if you have left-wing politics, I advise you to get familiar with what fascism actually is. Read Benito Mussolini's Doctrine of Fascism so you know how to identify it and what the ideology is. Spoiler alert, it's an explicitly anti-communist ideology. And so guess what Curtis Yarvin is talking about here? That capitalism, democracy, as we think of it, democracy in a capitalist system is really what it means, should be replaced with a sovereign, effectively a CEO monarch with total executive authority and no democratic accountability. He calls this model the patchwork or simply monarchy, and he's not being ironic. This is just fascism. If it comes along with the corporatism board of economic development anyway, and the emphasis on the state. He describes equality as a fiction and universal suffrage as a mechanism for elite manipulation of an ignorant public. Right, and we as communists actually believe in some of this. We think that under capitalism, the idea of equality is a fiction. You don't have equality. We think the idea of democracy is false. You don't have economic democracy, certainly. Universal suffrage as a mechanism for manipulation of an ignorant public. We believe that, right? But the difference between fascism and communism is that fascism looks at this and is like, we should put the power instead into one rich dude. CEO monarch. This is really where it gives corporatism, Mussolini, fascism vibes, right? And communists say we should educate the public, right? Make them not ignorant, increase literacy rates, put an emphasis on education, and take control away from these rich people who have been manipulating. The elite who have been manipulating the public, let's get rid of them. And let's educate the public so they are not ignorant and they can control what they want. And that's really the difference, right? So this is an accelerationist idea in a specific sense. The goal is not to reform existing institutions, but to demonstrate through their failure that something entirely different is needed. And this is also, again, what communists want to do. But what we think the different system is actually democratic in a way that capitalism cannot provide democracy. What fascists want to do is just be like, it doesn't work, fuck it, let's stop pretending it does. Let's just go all in. And what communists want to do is say, it doesn't work, let's fix it so it does. Let's make it work. Let's make democracy make sense. Let's educate people. Let's get people there, right? And that is why when you look at places that have a worker revolution, one of the first things the communists do is increase literacy rates. So, this kind of fascist ideology, on the flip side, though, pushing deregulation, defunding, and dysfunction to their limits is not incompetence in this framework. It's strategy. Break the system until people accept that it cannot be fixed, and then install the replacement. So the right wing is the true accelerationist in this regard. Peter Thiel, the billionaire co-founder of PayPal and Palantir, has publicly stated that he does not believe democracy and capitalism are compatible. He has funded Yarvin-adjacent intellectual projects and has been personally connected to neo-reactionary circles for years. Thiel was one of the earliest and most significant financial backers of J.D. Vance. He donated $15 million to Vance's Senate campaign and is widely credited with making his political career viable. Vance has cited Yarvin in interviews and has spoken approvingly of the idea of a president who governs by concentrating executive power and ignoring institutional constraints. And this is the Trump model. When we say it's getting fascist, again, according to the Mussolini definition of fascism, it is. And this is exactly what they're talking about here. The policy agenda that follows from this framework is not libertarianism in the traditional sense. It is deregulation of service of capital concentration, the removal of constraints on corporate power, while simultaneously using state power to suppress labor organization, political dissent, and any movement that challenges the position of those at top. It has no meaningful social contract component. The poor in this framework are not a constituency to be served. They are at best a labor pool. Mussolini says the social contract is that you live in service of the state, and the state is most important, and because you are a part of the state, therefore you are important too. That's where the emphasis on like state power comes into all of this, which is weird and interesting. China's system of governance is authoritarian. It's not. And its surveillance infrastructure is among the most extensive ever built. Okay, whatever. If fascism was allowed to develop unbothered, would its conclusion lead to the extinction of humanity? Probably not. They would probably keep people around as a labor pool. Like mentioned. Yeah. Right. So we got some weird stuff in here about hating China. Okay. They say, but China's authoritarianism is bundled with a social contract. The government has lifted hundreds of millions of people out of poverty over 4 decades. The World Bank describes it as the fastest large-scale poverty reduction in history. That part is true. China has universal health care, heavily subsidized housing programs, and pension coverage that has expanded dramatically in recent decades. The authoritarianism is real. Like, what do they mean by authoritarianism at this point? Like, it's just crazy. Like, what is, they say here, the social credit system, that's not real. That's not a real thing. It's suppression of political dissent. That's not real as the West thinks of it. They're free to politically dissent all they want. All right. They yell at cops all the time, and they don't even have to worry the cops are going to kill them for it. So none of that's real. So we get some anti-communist bullshit in here. We get a little trotty in here. Whatever. What are you going to do? Interesting. China's model for all of its brutality retains a concept of the state as responsible for people's material conditions. There's no brutality. What is the brutality? Yeah, they're forcing people to have a good life. How dare they? But at what cost? What is the brutality? So far, they've just named the social credit score, which isn't even real, and then some vague ideas of dissent that aren't even real either. The anti-communism is everywhere. It's everywhere. So this person says, the model being advocated by Yarvin, funded by Thiel, and given political form through figures like Vance, proposes corporate sovereignty with no such obligation. That is literally fascism. In that respect, it is historically novel. It is not. It is fascism. A high-technology feudalism in which the mechanisms of mass surveillance and mass detention serve private accumulation rather than any state project, however oppressive. That is literally the definition of fascism. That's what fascism is. Why will people not just read about these things? Like, you can literally just read. It's not even that long. Benito Mussolini's fascist doctrine of fascism. This is literally what it is. It's like the corporations control the economy in tandem with the state. In order to serve the corporation owners, the CEOs getting richer, and the state continuing to profit and get stronger. That's it. That's what it is. Like, definition. I don't understand this, but okay, whatever. So whether that is where the United States is heading is not certain. What is certain is that the infrastructure, the detention network, the surveillance systems, the legal definitions of dissent, the compelled labor of the incarcerated is being built. And the people who have thought most carefully about what to do with it have written down their intentions in considerable detail. Okay, so that's the end of that article. So whoever shared this article, thank you. It is a really interesting article. And you were right. The first half of it is very, very solid, and then it falls apart into anti-communist hysteria. Which is funny, and a complete lack of understanding of what you're fighting. And this really showcases why liberals need to understand what fascism is. If you cannot get a liberal to understand what communism is, maybe get them to try to understand what fascism is. the very least. Tell liberals, like, do you know what fascism is? Like, do you understand it's a specific political and economic ideology put together by Mussolini? Maybe you should read it. It's really short, and that way you know what you're up against. Because I think that liberals have just conflated fascism to mean anything they don't like. And that's clearly not the case. Fascism is a very specific thing. And they keep coming up with these new words, right? Oh, it's corporatism. Corporatism is quite literally the economic doctrine of fascism. Mussolini was like, I should have called it corporatism because that's really what it is, right? So, like, this is something at the very least, if you cannot get a liberal to understand what communism and socialism are, try to get them to understand what fascism is. Right? Don't you want to know? Don't you want to know what you're fighting? Don't you want to understand? And in that, they will see that it was a doctrine created to be the opposite of communism and fascism, right? And they will also understand, though, what the goals of the Republican Party are. People come up with all these weird nonsense babble speak. It's techno-feudalism. It's not techno-feudalism. It is fascism. Capitalism is collapsing. Capitalism is not sustainable. And it will go one of two directions. Communism or fascism. And that's it. They need to understand this. And as long as they're inventing hypothetical other ideologies, it's techno-feudalism. It's this weird thing nobody ever predicted before. No, it's fucking not. As long as you keep saying that, you are not going to be equipped to face the reality and fight the problem. The problem is that we are in the end stages of capitalism. It will not last. It cannot last. Everyone knows that except for liberals, right? And Republicans have shown what side they're on. They're on the side of Mussolini. They're like, we'll do the fascism thing then. That way we can still make money. And communism, we've known what side we were on since before fascism even came around, right? It's very, very interesting. So, I don't know. Yeah, liberals hate definitions. They do just use words. They just go off vibes. The compatible left loves the techno-feudalism shit too. It's just maddening. And it's that thing where you're like, these are problems that have already been solved. We already know. We already know what's happening. We already know what direction this can go. And we already know what the stakes are. We already know how liberals are going to respond. We already know how conservatives are going to respond. We already know. So we just need you to pick the right side. It's socialism or barbarism. It's communism or fascism. Those are your options. That's it. So get choosing now, and they won't. They think they're still clinging to normalcy. And I think that's the thing about, like, liberals in general, right? They like the status quo because it's comfortable and they think they can save it, but you can't save it. You're not saving it. You're going to lose your precious status quo. So then the answer is, what kind of change do you want, right? What kind of change do you want to happen? Do you want it to get worse or better? That's it. That's it. So, okay. All right, guys. I'm a little late. It's 2:03. I'm a little past my limit. I gotta get out of here. I will be here tomorrow. I will not be here then for the rest of the week and Monday. And then I think I'll be back. So I'll be here tomorrow, though, and I'll be very, very happy to see you all. We are on the right side of history. That is true. And I cannot wait to be locked up with you all in the fascist techno-feudalist epic fury, cringe, meme lord, 4chan, commie camps. We'll have a good time. It'll be great. All right. Is Larry streaming right now? Should we send everybody to Larry? Should we send everybody to somebody else before I leave? Anyone? Larry? Anyone? Cellmates 2027. Okay, we'll do Larry raid again. I love Larry. Oh my god, I spelled raid wrong. It's a rough day. I'm gonna replace my light for next week. I'm gonna get a new light. You do think Larry is on? Okay. Let me see if I did this right. Yes! All right, everybody. Bye.